to sing.
It's nice. Where are you from?
I'm from New York, Brooklyn.
So do you have any ideas for your pitch?
No, not really.
Okay, thank you.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
Okay, and Jada, so now you're going to interview the next person. And let's see. Who did? Okay.
I didn't go yet.
All right, let's have you come. Hey, okay. How you doing? So you got your video working? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Jada, please interview her.
Okay. Hello, what's your full name?
Hello, my name is Sanaja Shields.
Okay. What school do you go to?
I go to Brooklyn College Academy.
Nice. What are your hobbies?
I like playing video games, cooking. That's really it.
Okay. Do you have any ideas for your field?
Maybe someone that got in like a fatal accident and you see their progress through time.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. So Jada, let me ask a follow-up question. Is you said a fatal accident? And so is this a documentary about someone who actually did, or is this a narrative where you're going to be writing a script and producing it?
No, maybe someone that did actually get in a car accident to get a real story, not just one influenced by a real story.
Okay, so are you interviewing that person, or are you going to have actors portray that person?
Yes.
You're gonna have fantastic.
Interview.
And right. Oh, you said. I'm sorry. Say that again, Jada. I'm sorry. I was talking over you. I'm just saying.
Interview.
You're gonna interview them. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, let me bring up your next person, and that is going to be Mario. Mario Caruso.
Hello.
Go ahead, Jada. It's on you.
Okay. Hello, what's your full name?
My name is Mario Caruso.
Do you have any hobbies?
I like playing video games, cooking, hanging out with my friends.
What school do you go to?
I'm a junior in Brooklyn College.
What's the film idea you have going on?
My original idea was to take pictures on like the raft of the first half of 2020 and try to portray everything that happened through still images. But now I'm thinking more of doing like along the line of how the media has so much power and something trying to show how much power the media really has.
Interesting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jada. And Mario, let me get your next person. Okay. Miles, we didn't do you yet, Miles, right? Okay, Miles.
No, not yet.
Okay, fantastic. Are you having video issues now?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So Mario, please interview Miles.
All right, hey Miles, can I get your full name and age?
My name is Miles Brooks. I'm 20.
And what college are you currently attending, or what job do you currently have?
I'm a senior at Mooresville State College.
And do you have any hobbies?
I play football. I like taking photography.
Yeah, cool. And finally, what was your pitch idea if you had one?
My pitch was to take pictures to show to show what people miss in nature because they tend to overlook the beauty of true nature. So I was going to take like pictures of flowers and stuff.
Cool, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so Miles, you are now going to interview the next person. And Mario, thank you so much for that interview. That was fine. Okay. Hmm. Okay, let's see. Mr. Blake. So,
Hello?
okay.
Hello?
Fantastic. So, Miles, would you interview Mr. Blake, please?
Good morning. What's your full name?
Kamari Blake.
What school do you go to?
Graduated from Transit Tech High School.
Okay. You have any hobbies?
Just like to read and work out.
Okay. Did you think about any idea for your pitch?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. And Blake, how do you spell your first name, Blake?
Kamari.
Kamari. Fantastic. Okay, so Kamari, we're going to have you interview the next person. Which is, let me see. Okay. Okay, whoever, I think I'm missing one person. If you were not called, please, great, excellent. Thank you, Zen. That's Zen Hong Tan.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. So come on, please interview Zen.
Hello, what is your full name and age?
Sin Hong Tan, and I'm 17.
What school do you go to?
I'm currently attending Millennium High School.
And what are your hobbies?
I guess photography.
And finally, what is your pitch?
So I'm planning to record the positive effects of coronavirus and also the negative impacts it has.
Okay. Fantastic. I believe that's everyone. Everyone went. I have everyone in attendance. Everyone went. We got to hear from you guys. You have a lot of great ideas, a lot of great pitches. What we're going to do right now, I'm going to give you a 5-minute break, 5 minutes to stretch. It's now 10:10. It's 10:10. We're going to start again at exactly 10:15. We're going to wrap up one of the interview techniques. Then we're going to have a special guest come in. So just for 5 minutes to 10:15, just go ahead, get your stretch, get some water, and we will be back. If you have any questions, just chat them to me, and we will be back in 5 minutes. Okay, we are back. It's 10:15. We are back now. Okay, hope everybody has some good water. They're, had a good moment. Okay, so we just went over the interview process. We just went over the interview process. And like I said, an interview should be a conversation, not a presentation. Interviews are most interesting when the person you're interviewing, that you actually have interest in them and they're interested in doing the interview. That's when it makes a lot more sense, because even in film or television or radio, whatever, what have you, you can sense what is going on. You can have a sense if they're really enjoying the interview, if they're being forced to interview. And if they're being forced, you're not going to enjoy interviewing, being interviewed or even watching the interview. All right, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go over this how to do an effective interview. You see it on your screen here. I'm gonna call a name, and when I call you, I just want you to read a few of the paragraphs. I'll say 2 or 3 paragraphs. I'll tell you when to stop, and then I'll have someone else come in and read. All right. So first person I like is Jessica. Jessica, I'd like for you to read the first 3 paragraphs on how to do an effective interview. Are you here, Jessica?
I'm here.
Very good. Is your sound better? Did we get it fixed?
Yeah.
Very good. Sounds better. Excellent. So
Where do
I'm
I
sorry.
start? Location?
Okay. Yeah. You see it on the screen. How to choose to yes. How to do an effective interview? Yes. Choose to where to hold the interview.
Okay. Locations play a significant role in the effectiveness of your interview. Finding a quiet place will allow you to connect with the subject without distractions. Unless you plan to include colleagues in the interview, be sure to hold the interview in a place where you can maintain a private, one-on-one conversation. This way, the subject won't feel pressured by people nearby who may overhear them. For businesses in traditional office spaces, make sure to reserve your interview room as soon as possible. If your company culture is more relaxed, you may wish to conduct the interview in a casual setting, such as in a lounge area or cafe off-site. Businesses like retail shop and restaurants often interview subjects in a back office, break room, or another quiet area inside their place of business, etc. Restaurant dining room. Double check that everything is in order before the interview takes place. This will ensure a smooth and effective interview experience and leave the subject with a good impression of your company.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions on that, on what we just read in terms of location? Getting a good location? Any questions? Okay, fantastic. Let me just move this up. So prepare a list of interview questions in advance. Could we have Mario, please?
Plan out a list of interview questions to ask the subject based on the job requirements and their resume or CV. The number of interview questions you should prepare depends on what stage the subjects are in at the interview process. Initial phone screens, for example, are often 20 to 30 minutes long. which means it's a good idea to prepare 5 to 10 questions for longer in-person or video interviews. Come up with 10 to 15 open-ended interview questions and expect to ask 6 or 7 within an hour. Should I continue?
Yes, please continue.
Be sure to include open-ended behavioral interview questions so subjects can elaborate on their skills and experience and display their ability to tackle challenging topics. These types of questions will also help you assess a subject's critical thinking and communication skills. Other types of interview questions to consider asking include cultural interview questions, brain teaser interview questions, unique interview questions, and phone interview questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mario. Anyone have any questions on the type of interviews that you should do? So let me just say, when you interview, you should base it on what that particular interview is about. Remember, there's going to be several ways you're going to be interviewing as film producers, as filmmakers, as entrepreneurs. You're going to be interviewing folk to see whom it is you would like to get finances from, whom you like to hire, whom you like to consult with as you put your team together. So the different interviews are different. In one case, you'll be interviewing people to give them jobs. So it's really a job interview, because when an actor comes to you and they're going to be in your project, when you're interviewing them and you give them an audition, it's really, really a job interview, right? So directors, when you have an actor come and audition for you, the first thing I do when I have an actor come to audition is I normally just sort of go over their experience a little bit. Hey, how you doing, John? You know, great. I see here that you've been in 4 movies, right? And just have a little conversation. And then you ask John for his monologue or whatever else it is he's going to do. So if it's a cast or crew member, then you'll have their resume in front of you. You'll have their picture in front of you, or you'll go to IMDb, and IMDb is going to be an important website to you guys. It's IMDb. That's called the Internet Movie Database. The Internet Movie Database is a base that everyone goes to find out what everyone's been doing. It's the documentation as to what a person does. So you have people in the business who they'll say they did this, they did that. If they're not documented and you can't prove it, if you're teetering on the edge of hiring that person, if you can't find it, then I would say go to the next person, because everyone in the business winds up becoming well documented. You guys on your first film, you're also going to become documented in the industry, right? And your film don't have to be a professional film. It doesn't have to cost millions of dollars. Once you're out there and you go into film festivals, and we're going to talk about film festivals and markets in a few minutes. Once you're out there and once you get into that, then you're going to be caught up and put in the Internet Movie Database. And then everything you do after that is going to be documented. And when you become documented, people are going to be able to criticize you. They're going to be talking about you. They're going to be able to say things about you. So that's where you'll look when you're interviewing people too. Actors, directors, crew members, cinematographers, and they say they want a job with you, you go to the Internet Movie Database. That's how you find out about them. All right. All right. Jada, would you be so kind as to read section 3, please?
Okay. Carefully review the subject's biohistory or any other information data available. One of the most important interview techniques is to take time to carefully review each subject's biohistory and or any other information data shortly before the interview. This way, you can easily recall important information about the subject. Beyond asking the specific interview questions, you prepare an in advance. Encourage conversation by asking the subject to explain and elaborate on any documents or prepare information that may have shared with you. You can also ask them to clarify any employment gap statements, controversial issues, etc. Carefully reviewing the subject's data will help you formulate the right questions, guide the conversation, and gain better insight into their life.
Fantastic. So that's something I just talked about. But that is really one of the most important steps in an interview. You have to know your subject. You have to know who it is you're interviewing. You do your, as I once told you, the terminology is due diligence. Due diligence. That means you do the research on whomever you're bringing into your company, into your home, into your life. As film producers, you're responsible for whoever comes on the set, right? Film, a lot of people don't realize it, film sometimes can be hazardous, especially if you guys have like action sequences, so someone slips and fall on your set, you wanna be ready for that. You wanna have insurance if you can, right? If you're shooting a film as a student and you're shooting it from your college or for your church or something to that effect, they will probably have the insurance ready, but you have to be ready too. So always be prepared. Okay. For question 4, Destiny, will you read question 4, please? I mean, wait.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Make a positive impression by welcoming the subject and treating the interview like a casual conversation. Take the first 5 to 10 minutes after start of the interview to build rapport with the subject. Loosen up their interview nerves and make them feel more comfortable. Ask how their day is going, if they had any trouble finding the interview location, and if they would like a glass of water before starting. You can also bring up anything you have in common with them, with the subject. For example, did you attend the same college? Do you have similar interests? Have you worked in the same company in the past? Remember, when interviewing actors and crew, this is a job interview, an excellent way to encourage subjects to accept a job offer. Should you decide to hire them after the interview process, is to mention aspects of the company and work life that current employees find enjoyable. For example, if your production offers unique perks such as back-end points or a single card credit, it's worth sharing these benefits during the interview process.
Okay.
Interviews should be two-way streets, so make sure to leave enough time at the end for subjects to ask any questions they may have. This can also reveal how to engage and interest a subject as in the role and company.
Excellent. Gerlene, number 5, please.
Okay, so explain the interview process and the next steps. After the interview, let subjects know what they can expect. Explain your company's hiring process, especially if it's complex and involves multiple rounds or conversations with other interviewers. Be clear about what next steps will be. Should they expect a phone call or email? How long will it take for you to make a decision? When are you hoping to fill the position?
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you on that. Let's see, number 6. Going to have Miles, please read number 6.
Consider holding a group interview. Instead of using traditional interview process, you may want to consider bringing multiple subjects as a part of a group interview. This interviewing technique is useful if you need to hire a relatively large number of people quickly for similar roles. Group interviews could also be assessed how how a subject interacts in a team environment by providing a group of subjects with a test assignment. You can observe teamwork skills as well as how they apply to professional abilities to complete a task.
Fantastic, fantastic. Jacob, would you please read number 7 for me, please?
All right. Follow up after the interview. Even if you decide not to move forward with the subject, it's important to let them know instead of leaving them hang. Following up shows that you respect the subject's time and effort and can create a positive reputation and subject experience. Once you've made your decision, make a phone call to successful subjects to tell them the good news. Whether it's extending them an offer or scheduling the next round of interviews, consider sending an email to unsuccessful subjects explaining what they did well and why you made your decision. And make sure to thank them for their time. By using the right interview techniques, you can not only quickly find the right subject for the job, but also build a positive brand reputation that can improve your subject's experience. People talk about how they're treated during the interview process, so make sure you're giving them something great to talk about.
Fantastic, fantastic. Does anyone have any questions? I see something in the chat. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, so that's good. So we've covered interviewing, right? And I'm going to just talk a little bit about the different roles again, what we've done before, what we went over up to here, and then we're gonna go on and we're gonna make it to festivals and markets, okay? Let me just get my notes. One thing I want everybody to know is this is serious. Being in film is serious. Working towards your goals in life is serious. But I want you to also not be so hard on yourself. Have fun when you're doing this. There's an old saying that if the work that you're doing is something that you love, then you never work a day in your life. And that's really true, because if you love it, you're gonna always wanna do it. You're gonna never wanna stop doing it. You're gonna eat, sleep, and drink it. It's just like if you've ever seen a guy that works out all the time, you know, and you be wondering, why is he working out? That's so hard. But the guy that's working out is loving it. He's loving it because even though there's pain and even though there's challenges and situations, he knows that in the end, he's gonna get what he wants, which is either great health or nice body or whatever he's looking for. And just like when we talked about writing, right? Because we did talk about writing. Remember the first and most important step I said is that you want to get a great script. And so just like that, the end, I tell you, write the ending first and then go to the beginning. Always know what your goal is. Always know what your goal is. And as long as you know what your goal is, that's going to keep you on track and keep you on the right direction as filmmakers. Because when you write a script, right? When you write a script, we went over script writing, you get the great script. You get the great script first. That's the first thing you want to do in film once you decide to make a film. And you get the great script and you look at the script and remember how you choose the great script. You choose the great script by several methods. One of them is you write it yourself. And because we're on this level, you probably will write it yourself. Or you get a friend to write it, or a neighbor, or somebody that you're close to write the script. But the great script is the script that when you read it, you're looking at it and you're going, oh, shoot. Oh, man. Oh, right. That you're almost speaking out loud as you read in a script because things start to change. One of the things is with the pitch, if you notice the great pitches and the pitches that Miss Adler told you about yesterday, they always talk a little bit about the story and then it talks about the challenge. What's stopping that person from getting there? The challenge the challenge of the film, or the challenge that's involved in the story, is what makes the film interesting. If there was no challenge in the film or in the script, you're not really going to be interested in the script. And then if you start to notice, right, if you start to notice something and you start watching a lot of movies and you start watching television shows, you'll start to find out that really the stories are all the same. The stories are all the same. There's really not a whole lot of differences in the story except the way the stories are done. Boy meets girl. Boy loses girl. Boy gets girl back. How many stories have you seen like that? Boy gets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. Even though we have seen those stories over and over again, and sometimes you go to the movies and you know that that's what's going to happen, it's because of the way, or the way it's written, that you're going to go and you're going to see that. That story I told you guys, one of my first films that I ever seen was a film called West Side Story. That made me interested in being a filmmaker, right? That's West Side Story is boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. But West Side Story is Romeo and Juliet. Boy meets girl, boy gets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back, right? It's the same story. And I'm not saying that Hollywood, Hollywood and doing films is not, I'm not saying that they're all, what's the word for formulas, but I'm saying that how you do something or how you write it makes the difference. Like I said, you can take the same story told by two different people and come out with two different stories. It's almost if we all said, okay, we're gonna write about George Washington right now. And we're going to write about how George Washington became president and how, until the end, until he passed away. There's going to be some stories that's going to be great about George Washington, and you're going to be excited. Then there's going to be some that's going to be boring about George Washington, right? But they're all going to be about George Washington. And how we approach the stories of George Washington is what's going to make the George Washington story a good story or a not good story, right? You can tell a story about anything. When I graduated from film school, I was at New York Film Academy. We were all doing our thesis film. And there was a guy who did a film about shoes. It was a 15-minute film about shoes, about a pair of shoes. Now, when you hear that story, it doesn't sound interesting, but he had the shoes having conflict and things were happening to the shoes, right? And you found yourself interested in a story about shoes. They weren't talking shoes, it was narrated, but still you found yourself interested. So how you tell the story makes the difference. How you tell the story, and you want to learn to be good storytellers, because being a good storyteller is going to make a difference in any profession. If you're an attorney, right, you have to tell a good story to the judge to get your client off, right? If you're going for an interview, you have to tell the story of your life, and you got to tell it in a good way. And you have to find the way to do it. So getting a great script, that's the first step. That's really important. And now also, I just want to give you something and think about this. Now, we all want greatness, right? We all want greatness. The first thing you got to do is you got to start, right? You got to start. If you don't start, you're not going to be great, right? Now, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great, right? And that's what it is. So you got the story. Now, before the story, now I'm just going to take it back. You want to write out your pitch. I'm going before the story now, all right? Before your script. You want to write out everything that you want to do with your film. This is called the business plan. I'm going beyond, before the first day of shooting, back to to what you guys are now going to be working on for tomorrow, which is pre-production. You want to write out exactly what you're going to do, exactly how you're going to do it. If you're going to get investments, how much investments are you going to get? How are you going to get those investments? How are you going to split the profits? And what you're going to do, how you're going to shoot, when you're going to start your shoot, and then you're going to have to write about what happens after the film is made. What do you do after the film is made? It's really, really important that you're able to write a business plan similar, something like a business plan, something that's going to give you the exact direction your project is going. Now, if you're going to get investors, and we're going to talk about that in a few moments, if you're going to get investors and stuff, you're going to need to write the business plan, right? Now, the other thing is, even with your script, you want to keep it simple, right? If you write a script, keep it simple. Write a script that has 1 to 2 characters, 3 characters, maybe 1 location, right? That's how you want to do your first script, especially if you're a no-budget film or low-budget film, because it saves money. And a good script will entertain folks throughout for 90 minutes, right? A good script will entertain them throughout the right time. And if you get the right actors, then you have a dynamite combination. So don't try to do a script that have penthouses and car chases and things blowing up yet, because you don't have money. You have to be realistic about how you're going to do a film, right? So you keep it simple. You write the script. The script should be fun for you. Even if it's a horror script. Like I said, if you're doing a horror story, there's only a few stories, right? But if you're going to start out with how many people have seen this story where there's 10 to 15 teenagers or young people trapped somewhere, they can't get out, and there's a mad killer running around? That's the story. Everybody does it. Everybody in the industry do it. They do it. Sometimes they do it just because they want to make money. They just want to do something, and that's what you do. You get 10 to 15 teenagers, you put them in a room, you lock them in there, and you got some madman running around killing them up. That's a story. That's a formula. It makes money. Hollywood knows what makes money, and they know what won't make money, but that makes money. So just keep it simple. Keep it simple. I say 2, 3 characters, 1 location. By having 1 location, that saves you a whole lot of time, a whole lot of money. We call it a dressed up play. That's what your first film should be, a dressed up stage play. We have the young lady, she's gonna be doing a film, she's gonna be directing a film based on a true story. First thing she needs to do is, how do you tell this story in 1 room? Do you have them in a hospital? Do you have flashbacks? Do you have flashbacks as animation? There's a lot of ways to go, a lot of ways to think on it, right? Flexibility. Flexibility is key to this whole thing. I mentioned it early. You gotta be flexible. You gotta be ready when things are not working out. And things won't work out in film. Actors won't show up. Equipment won't work. If you're a guerrilla filmmaker and you haven't gotten a permit, you'll get chased off the set. Things happen, but you have to be ready to bounce back. You have to be ready to be creative. I'll tell you about a film I was doing called Brooklyn Gangster. I love telling the story because Brooklyn Gangster is one of my best films. It's on Amazon Prime, right? Brooklyn Gangster, we had a scene in Brooklyn Gangster where you had these 2 cops, 2 plainclothes cops, arrest this guy who's on the street selling drugs. As we were looking at the scene, we were talking to the actors, and our actors looked like cops. Remember, it's important to get the right actors for your film, right? Our actors look like cops. So we're on the scene, and we're saying it would be nice if we had a nice van for the actors to drive up in and then arrest the guy. And we're standing there and we're trying to think of what we need to do. Our actors, as we're talking, some guys are coming down the street, they're playing loud music, and they're in this really nice van that we want to use for our production now. Our actors flagged them down, say, hey man, look, we're shooting a movie and we really would like to use your van to shoot this scene in. And if you let us use your van, we'll put you in the movie. We'll give you some credits. And do you know they pulled over, they let our actors drive their van. They didn't even know if our actors had licenses, right? They let our actors drive their van and they're screeching down the street with these guys, nice brand new van with red, and the scene worked. The scene worked. That's guerrilla filmmaking. Guerrilla filmmaking is putting out fires, no matter what the fire is, to get the film done. And sometimes you might have a situation where you can do that, where you know you have actors that are that bold and you and your team is that bold, right? Because when you go into film and you go into a guerrilla film mindset, you want a team that's just as much guerrilla as you, a team that has that chutzpah to ask for things that's needed to get that production done. Guerrilla filmmaking, you might beg, borrow, steal to get it done. But that's how you do it, because you're going to get the project done, right? So you be flexible. Things change. You have scenes that may be shot on a roof, and you don't have a roof to shoot it on. So you don't shoot it on a roof. Then what you do is you have to shoot the film in the playground or in a house or apartment. But you can't be so married to the script and so inflexible that you can't change, because when you have no money, things are going to change. People are going to want to stop you. People are going to tell you you're crazy. People are going to tell you you can't, but do it anyway. Listen, I'm going to tell you something, and don't take this wrong, but filmmaking is not rocket science. Anybody these days can make a film as long as they have a cell phone. And then the iPhones, like I said, is giving the quality of some of the highest priced DSL cameras. There's a director, Steven Soderbergh. All his films now, he's a famous director, and all his films are now being done on iPhones. He did all the Oceans films, Oceans 11 and Oceans 12. Well, you know, if you guys know about the Oceans films. So you want to make sure, and you got to know that you got to be flexible. You miss the ball, you just get ready. You go back to home plate and you wait for the next pitch. If you get struck out, you go, you sit down and you start again. Same thing in filmmaking. Same thing. Editing. You'll be working Final Cut Pro or one of the editing suites, and you're working on, you got 90 minutes of film edited. You got a whole feature film in front of you, and something happens to your computer. Something happens to your memory. Something happens, and you lose your film. You've been working on it for 3 weeks. And you do everything you can to find that film, and you can't find it. What do? You start all over again. That's what you do. You start the editing process all over again. And while I mention that, when you really start getting into filmmaking and you're doing feature films and you're doing the films that really mean something to you, don't keep all your data on one hard drive. Always have a second hard drive. And also, and theoretically, have that second hard drive somewhere else. When you shoot your film, have all your information on that hard drive. You give that hard drive to your editor. Never be without your footage. Don't let anybody else be in charge of all your footage. Don't do it. Don't give it to them. Don't give it to them. Don't do it. If you do, you're going to find your footage on YouTube or Facebook, or they're going to lose the hard drive, or something happens to the hard drive, water gets on it, somebody drops it out the window, and if all your footage is there, you've lost your entire movie. Your movies are so important that you have 2 hard drives, one for everybody you're going to let work on it, and one where you keep all the original files. When you finish your film, do not erase the stuff you don't use, because you never know when you're going to come back to it. You keep it and you put it in a safe place so that your editor or whoever else you let work on your film, you always have your copy. Always. Never give it out. Never, ever, ever. Right? I mentioned, I'm stressing this to you because I know a lot of filmmakers who have lost their film. Things have happened. Things have changed. Being flexible is one of the most important things you can do as a filmmaker now, and even if you get hired in a studio. If you get hired in the studio, you have to be flexible. There's a lot of people who are so into the art and are so into the business, are so much, have tunnel vision about how things should be done or the way things should be done, that when something happens that's different to what they're thinking or different than what their vision is, they can't deal with it, they can't cope, and they wind up losing the job or the client or stopping the project. There's so many projects that get stopped because somebody is not being flexible. Be flexible. You have a male character and you only have female actors, change it to a female character, right? You have a scene for a dog, you don't have a dog, you only have a toy dog on the set, change it to a toy dog. Write characters out of the scene. Write them out. You know, don't let your film suffer because someone gets sick or they can't act anymore or anything like that. Don't let your film suffer. Flexibility is the key. The movie industry, when the movie industry started, everything was black and white. Black and white, no sound. Black and white, no sound. That's how it was, right? No sound. Then somebody came along and they invented sound. And the industry started to realize that sound was the way to go. But they didn't just say, okay, you know what, sound is here, we now are gonna have better films. What they did, they fought against sound. They fought the changes. A lot of the studios that had just got into business at the beginning and doing a film wound up going broke and wound up going out of business because they were not flexible. They did not change with the industry. Some filmmakers at that time said, who want to hear a bunch of actors speak? Who want to hear the talking voices? And then some actors who were acting before sound was invented couldn't go on to the next step because they couldn't speak. They didn't know how to speak. They didn't know how to adjust. That was a big change in the industry. And then from sound, the next big thing was color. People started doing movies in color. And when color came, they resisted. The industry resisted. Color was a lot more expensive. Everything was done on film. It wasn't like it is today where they had digital. Film was very expensive. But even the crossover from color to film became a battle. Some companies stuck with black and white till it was too late, and they couldn't work the bottom line. The bottom line is profits. They couldn't get profits because they were still doing black and white where everyone else went to color. And then from color came Technicolor. And Technicolor was marvelous because color was if you think in terms, when color first began, you think in terms of a drawing, a book where you can a coloring book, right? And in the industry in the beginning, you think in terms of the coloring book, and you think in terms of coloring like a child would color in the pictures, right? And some of it goes outside the lines. So it wasn't perfect, but it was there. And so color went from color to Technicolor, and some of the guys, same thing, that were doing color, resisted, and they wound up going out of business. And it continues to happen in the movie industry today. We went to special effects in '75 when Star Wars came out. A lot of people resisted special effects. They're out of business, right? And then from special effects, we now go to digital. And then right now, what's going on, there's a debate with a lot of cinematographers. A lot of cinematographers don't want to use digital. They still want to do film. Film is so expensive, but nobody's putting money into film anymore. And some of these guys are not going to be working because everything is digital. And now even what's happening in digital, you have the cameras now being replaced by phones, iPhones, things like that. And you have a lot of people with the iPhones or with the cameras, or a lot of cameramen that will not touch an iPhone. They won't be working. They will not be working. I'm telling you now, those guys who will not switch over from camera to phone won't be working, because that's where the industry is going. We don't control the industry controls us. We don't decide what is going to change. We gotta go with the changes. Now something else is happening, and we're gonna get to the other stuff that's happening later on after we do our break. After an hour, we always take a 5-minute break after an hour. But what is going on is also the entire world is changing to digital and robotics and computer and animation. Right now, I gotta tell you, right now, they're doing films with stars who have been dead for decades because of digital. They're taking these stars, these actors, Marilyn Monroe, for example. Now, you guys may not have heard of Marilyn Monroe, but I'm sure some of you have. I've never really seen a Marilyn Monroe movie, but you know, she's one of the famous women, so I know about her, a little bit about her. They're doing a movie right now that's starring Marilyn Monroe. And she's been dead for, I don't know, 50 years or something. But that's because of the technology. That's because of the industry. Now, you also have to realize that they're doing movies that are totally computer-generated movies, where you don't really use a set, you just use a green screen, and everything is done in a studio, and the entire movie is green screen. Those movies are making money. That's your Marvel films. Your Marvel, those are all green screens, robotics, everything mixed up into one. But we gotta go into that direction, because that's where the industry is going. And we gotta go where the industry goes. We can't go on our own. We gotta be flexible. We gotta know what the rules are. We follow the rules. Then when we learn how to do it, that's when we can break some of the rules. It's like riding a bike. When we're on a bike, when we first learn, we're having issues. We can't balance ourselves. We got training wheels. And then as we get better, one training wheel come off, then 2 training wheels come off. And then next thing you know, you're riding a bike. And next thing you know, when you were having balance issues, you're now riding with no hands. You're standing up on the bike seat. You're doing wheelies, doing all things like that. That's because once you get to the point of knowing how to do something, having those basics, that's when you can change things. That's where you can experiment with things. That's where you can do your Star Wars or your Black Lightning or your special effects. No one really knows the limits of special effects. No one knows the limits. But the thing is, special effects are happening. right? They're happening. They're happening before our eyes. Some movies are the entire movie is special effects. And even though it has a huge audience, audiences still come to motion pictures that have that are basic, that have a basic good storyline. Now, some of you are going to do documentaries, and so you may be as you're hearing this saying, as a documentary producer, you know the script don't apply to you. It applies to you too. When you do your documentary, you're going to write it out, and you're going to write out where it's going, what's going to happen, right? You're not just going to pick up a camera and shoot and say, you know, I want to do a documentary about this, that, and the other thing. You're going to have to know what the theme of your documentary is. Your documentary tells a story. If you look at some of the great documentaries like Fahrenheit 9/11. Hold on, guys. This is our guest. Hey, Dale, how you doing, sir?
Hey, just waiting for the link, baby.
I sent it to you last night, sir.
I'm in my email because I sent nothing.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you again. Just give me 2 minutes.
EFC Film Zone, not that other EFC Film Zone.
Okay, could you just send it to me? You sent it to.
Right now.
Okay, great. I'm with the team. I'm with the class right now, and I will. Okay. You're welcome. Hey guys. Okay, we have a special guest coming on today. We're going to talk about this guest is going to come on. His name is Dale Weston. Dale Weston runs the largest action film festival in the world. All the action films go through this festival, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to take he's trying to get on. He's having some issues getting on. I'm going to send him what he needs to get on. So now we're going to take another break. It's 11:03 right now. Please come back on at 11:10. We're going to come back on. I'm going to finish the discussion about flexibility and getting the work done. And then we're going to come on. We're going to learn about festivals and markets. That's where the money is. That's where the value of your film is. That's where things come out. So we're going to take, I'm going to see you again at 11:10. So please get some water, go to the bathroom, stretch, and we'll be back on 11:10.
Hello.
Oh, okay, great. I just wanted to make sure you got it.
I think I'm in, man.
Yeah, I see you. I see you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Sounds like Kenny Cagle.
Yes, sir. How you doing, sir? I'm excited.
I'm here. I'm ready. Me too.
Fantastic. We got a group of young, up-and-coming filmmakers. They are excited. Dale, we went over there.
Fantastic.
We went over their pictures today. They're gonna be back on in 1 minute. They're still
You take. Listen, I'm here to support whatever it takes. I'm here.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Look good, man. You've been working out?
Oh man, yes, I'm working out daily and
Good for you.
eating right and doing the right things. Yeah.
Good, man. Good. Fantastic. Fantastic.
I'm enjoying the weekly Zoom with the live performance, the hybrid. I'm performing that whole thing. I'm looking.
I gotta figure out what I did wrong.
You know,
I do Zoom. Listen, I get a whole new show. You got to come on my show. I do a show every single friggin' day on Zoom.
Oh man, I would love to.
It's called Interiors. It's I'll send you the link. Check it out. It's going pretty well so far.
Okay, excellent. So
take your time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, team. Everyone, it is 11:10, so please come back on. Okay, I'd like for you to open up your videos. Yes, yes, yes. So everyone, I am just super excited, right, about a guest that we have today. We just went over some of the fundamentals of filmmaking. We know about being flexible, right? And I told you we're gonna learn about festivals and markets. Well, I have an expert here, a guy who has created one of the best film festivals ever, not just in California or Las Vegas, not just on the West Coast and the East Coast and just in the United States. This man festival, the Action on Film International Film Festival, is one of the best in the world. And it's not just me saying it, it's well documented when you go into the industry newsletters and magazines. This is one of the festivals they will be talking about. This is one of the festivals they are talking about. This is one where you want to get your films. I'm telling you, even your first film, and some of you guys, you're about to do your first film, I'm telling you, you're gonna need to send your festival here, your film to this particular festival, send it in. Now, we haven't talked about festivals yet, but Del Weston is going to tell you each and every step, everything you need to know about films, marketing, getting deals. He's going to tell it to you right now. So with that, guys, pay attention and take notes, right? Take notes and be ready to ask questions, right? We went over interviews all morning, right? Be ready to ask questions of Del Weston. Del, please take it away.
Hey guys, how are you? Good afternoon. I'm glad to be here. And Kenya, thank you for the great invitation to come speak to some people about their dreams. It matters. Every one of you has a concept or an idea or a story in your heart and in your head. The beauty about that is that it means that you should do something about it. And this is the perfect time. There's been no more democratic, no more opportune, no more technological time to make a film than today. All the barriers have been wiped away from all the years where it was a closed industry. And what I mean by that is 15, 20 years ago, you could not make a feature film the way you can make a film today. It requires a phone today. It requires a microphone, maybe a Zoom. No lights, because the cameras today actually operate beautifully in low light conditions. And even the Canon new R camera that just came out, that 6K camera will do the same thing, shooting in low light and giving you the opportunity to make beautiful images. A couple of things that you need to be concerned about at this stage is that the industry has changed. And it was changing before COVID. COVID just kind of put the hammer in the coffin. So if you will go back about 25 years, you'll remember that there were shows like Sundance and Cannes and Toronto. And what would happen is a filmmaker would make his or her film, and they would take that film to a festival, and then buyers would see the film. And every major studio has buyers who purchase films. Most of the studios have been wiped away in the last 6 months. They still exist, but they're not releasing anything. So a company that's not making or releasing anything is not really a movie company. They're just living off of whatever they produced in the past. But for you, with your new concepts and your new ideas and your stories and your new lives, you have a chance to kind of change things. You are the new voice of the next generation. There is no one who can carry that flag but you. So you'll notice that all the old filmmakers, guys like me, these dinosaurs who should have been shot a long time ago, we're out there just struggling to make sure we can get a movie into a major platform like Amazon or Hulu or Netflix. And you can see some of my stuff on Amazon. If you were going to watch something, I'd say watch a documentary I did called Behind the Gate. It stars Academy Award winner Joe Pesci and Oscar De La Hoya and a bunch of other great people. But at least you can get an idea of the type of caliber of work that I've been able to do. So a couple of things have changed in the industry that you should know about, which you probably don't. And it may not even matter to you today, but it will matter to you ultimately. So I'll give you a quick example. 70 years ago, they passed a law that movie studios could not own theater chains. And why was that? So Warner Brothers, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, 20th Century Fox, all these studios could not own a movie theater. And the reason for that is the monopoly. If a theater was owned by movie companies, they could only show their movies and literally block any of their films from being shown, especially big chains. Well, something happened about 3 months ago, a federal judge wiped that law away. And the reason that judge did that was because COVID has wiped out movie theater audiences, which means the producers and owners of theaters don't have enough money to maintain those gigantic 40 and 30 and $20 million mega movie houses they created for people just like you. Just imagine that. Someone said, I want Jacob or Leonia's or Gavin's or Casing's money. And in order to get that, I've got to give them a place that is so fantastic, they'll come spend 15, 20, 30, 40, 60, $100. to be here. Well, all that's gone. And what's happened is most of the studios have stopped producing and definitely releasing. That means a lot of independent filmmakers whose films never would have been seen have now been accepted by Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all the other services out there. The new ones like Tubi, for instance, and a bunch of others that are sprouting out. That creates a need. Now, are you going to get $1 million for your first movie? I have to say, I have not seen that in a very long time. I'm talking about a couple of years. There's still good deals out there, but the world has conspired against the artist once again. So when you take on this journey as a filmmaker, remember, it's a vocation. This is not a hobby. This is not something you do as a pastime. This is a passion and a love for storytelling that probably already exists inside you, or you wouldn't be sitting here today listening to my silliness. So a couple of things I'd like you to be aware of. Number one, story is king. I don't care what your story is. Just remember that more than the camera equipment, more than the audio equipment, more than the theater you screen in, the story is the key. How important is that story to you? How you tell it? Who you bring aboard to tell it with you? You've got a great mentor with Kenya already, and that's a really great point, because when Kenya was starting out and I was starting out, we didn't have mentors. We didn't have cameras. We didn't have word processors. We were writing scripts on typewriters and notepads. And that's a very interesting thing. That's because technology has grown so quickly and so beautifully that all these things have been given to you. And really, you can go on nofilmschool.com and learn everything you need to know about making movies just by visiting that site. You can go to YouTube and watch all the experimental films done by people. And you can also get an idea of the voices that you like. So for instance, by show of hands, how many people here have a favorite filmmaker that they could name? Just raise your hand if you do. And if you don't, that's okay too, right? So what I want you to do is to begin looking at films and filmmakers and seeing the style that you like, whether it's a male, female, American or international, whatever. Find someone whose voice you like, because that voice will speak to you and tell you and give you direction for what you're trying to do. Remember, you don't have to go it alone. It used to be that filmmaking was a very lonely journey, because a director would start out and he'd have to amass all these people, and without money, that director, it was tough. And then we have young women out there who are really trying to use their voice. Well, this is the first time it's ever been democratic that they could. You know, the industry is changing so much, but in your hands, in your capable hands, you will be generating the stories that will influence generations to come. You understand how important you are? The most influential medium in the world, bar none, is film. If you want to change someone's mind, if you want to convince someone of something, if you want to educate or entertain, you can do all those things. And you have that in your hand right now. So I'm going to offer, because you're with Kenya, if anyone in this group needs help writing a script, I can teach you how to write a script literally in 15 minutes. I can give you the background and the structure so that the fear that you have in trying to write a script is eradicated in 15 minutes. I developed that package because I myself was frustrated. I've worked some pretty big movie companies. My background is I started out as an art director for a company called Animagic. We did something called aerial optical printing. And that means we did custom titles for film on giant gimbals, these huge cameras locked in these rooms with these light tables. Apple computers wiped that entire industry away in less than 1 year. And I'll give you an example. At Animagic, the machinery we used just to create the titles cost anywhere from $2 to $9 million. A $3,000 Apple computer wiped it away. And it wiped away union jobs. It wiped away all these things. But what it did that was great is it put movie making in the hands of people like you and I without a barrier to cross. I want to give you one more thing as we're talking. Because you know Kenya, anyone here who does a film in the next year, a film, a script, a poem, a story, whatever you got, I'm going to talk to Kenya. Every one of you will get fee waivers to submit your work to AOF, okay? And one more thing, we happen to own a magazine too called the AOF MegaFest magazine. Kenya's going to pick one of you to have a custom story written about you and your film in that magazine, okay? So when you come around a guy like Kenya, he doesn't bring a guy like me around to talk to you. He brings a guy like me around to help you. And because of him, I am absolutely willing to do it. And more than that, I'm excited to do it. So now we're going to start the class. It's going to go very quickly, so keep up. If you have a question, raise your hand. I can't see everyone, but Kenya, if you can, maybe, or wait, yes, I can now. I guess I can. If you have a question, just ask your question, okay? You'll find a person ready to answer it, okay? So number one, here's what you need to be a filmmaker. You need to have the desire. You have to want to make movies. Now, whether you're an activist or a fiction storyteller or just a guy or a girl with a great eye for camera work or for performance, whatever excites you, that's what I want you to aim at being. So for instance, some people like wardrobe design. That's an excellent, excellent job. Makeup for some people, others, they want to be cinematographers, some want to be directors, some want to be actors, some want to be all that stuff, right? And when you think about some of the biggest actors out there, just think about it. You know, Spike Lee, way before you guys were born, Spike Lee made a film called She's Gotta Have It. It wasn't a really good film, in my opinion, but it showed that he had some skill. And then a bunch of people that came after him, like Matty Rich and Antoine Fuqua and a bunch of others, all came out of Spike Lee. I came out of Spike Lee, and I don't even like Spike Lee. But you cannot deny that his film, Do the Right Thing, was probably one of the most groundbreaking films in the history of the world. Malcolm X, another great Spike Lee film. And even now, The Five Bloods on Netflix, another insanely fantastic film. And they tell the story about people who look like you, okay? For a very long time. And this is not about white people. I got white in me, okay? I got 19 different things in me, all of them confused. But most of the stories that have been told throughout the history of the world have been about people who do not look like you. And as you sit here today in all of your beauty with that black skin and that yellow skin and that red skin and that brown skin and those beautiful eyes and that fantastic hair, it is up to you to tell the story of you and your ancestors and your family and your heroes. This is on you. This is where you take your voice and bring it out to the world. And the story does not have to be yours. It can belong to someone else. But your unique vision will help you tell it. So the very first thing you need, you got to desire to be this thing. You got to want to write. You have to want to shoot. You have to want to see your film and your story edited and come together. The second thing you need is an idea. Okay? No idea is unworthy. I don't care. You know, Lee Daniels made a film called Precious. And there's a really great actor named Harry Lennox who I've worked with in the past. You've seen him on Blacklist, on NBC, and Matrix, and Superman. He's been in everything. But Harry spoke to me about Precious. He said, Precious doesn't exist. I said, what do you mean Precious doesn't exist? She got hit by a frying pan with her mother. He says, no, she doesn't exist. You can't find Precious anywhere. That was a thought that Lee Daniels had. And he wanted to make it as bad as possible so that people would see Black people in that way and pity them. And that was a sad thing. To me, it was a sad thing. But that was his story. And so it is, because it's his story, he has every right to tell it. And you have the same rights and privileges. So now number two, we got story. We have an idea. We have a concept of what we want to do. And then number three, we have to have structure, okay? Now, I'm not telling you how, because you guys are smarter than I'll ever be. And if you think about it for a second, the way that technology has grown, it advances and doubles every 6 months, okay? So 6 months ago, we did not have the cameras we have now to shoot with. They're new. In 6 months from now, the camera that I bought last year will be obsolete, basically, right? So the tools change, but your dedication, Your concept, your story, your idea, and your structure never do. Because the goal is to get from the concept in your mind to the screen in front of your computer or your theater. And you all have that ability. So what do we mean by structure? I mean that you have to have either A, the knowledge of every facet of what you're doing, or the knowledge of how to get to the people who know how to do it, right? And I've always used the second method. I've surrounded myself with great people who absolutely want to see me succeed. And that's rare. I had no father, 9 kids, grew up horribly, tough straits, right? A lot of violence, all those things play into my story. I'm beginning to wonder what your story is. Maybe it's not like mine. Maybe it's not like Kenya's. Maybe it's unique. Maybe it's like your friend. But that structure of who you are is your strength, not your weakness, right? You have 2 men here. One of them who's never met you who says, I will help you. That's structure. And then you have someone who says, well, let's get them the submission fee so they don't have to worry about paying that. And then let's get them some promotion as well. So you're beginning to understand structure. It's the people who come around you to help build the frame of the boat that you will sail into your future success. Now, how do you make a movie? Part 4, okay? You do it. You don't wait for permission. You don't ask for permission. You don't say that someone said no. You don't say that, well, I would if my mom said I could. No. The voice of the independent storyteller is so strong that it does not need permission, okay? Now there's legal stuff you got to do. You got to have releases for your locations. If you want to sell the project, that falls into a heading of things called deliverables, and that's much too much to get into right now. But my point to you is that you already have the right. Don't think that you don't have the right to do what you want to do in film or with story, okay? Some of you want to be animators. I can tell you right now that if you go to Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com, you can pay about $60 and have a short animated movie made for you by someone in another country. Now, are you exploiting their talent by hiring them? Absolutely not. Because the standards of the US are different than the standards in India, China, Germany, Spain, France, wherever. And in some cases, the standards in other countries are much higher than the standards here, and our people seem to be exploited. But what I'm suggesting to you with structure, you can go to Fiverr and you can make an animated film. Someone else will do the whole thing for you. I had a guy that made one last year. I think he spent $225, but he wrote it, he produced it, and he directed it, but they did the animation, okay? That also is structure. Right? So what I'm suggesting to you is that you have all these combinations of ways that you can go forward to make your dream come true. So we talked about those first 4 concepts, and I want to leave you with those concepts now because that's all I want you to grasp. I want you to understand that whatever story is, again, by show of hands, how many people have a story in their mind that they want to do, or an idea or a concept of something they'd like to produce? There we go. Beautiful. And if we wait long enough, we're going to see every hand go up. Do you know why that is? It's because that story was planted in you a long time ago. And it was developed by how you live, by your family, by your interest, by all the things you put into your brain. I'm sorry, was that a question? I'm sorry, I thought it was my ex-wife. I apologize. I get flashbacks sometimes. Kenya will explain that. So when you think about that idea, it's been formed by everything you put into your head. Now, I had a friend, and there's nothing wrong with rap music, but I had a friend, and he had a newborn, and I was going by his car one day, and I said, dude, that music's so loud, the baby's in the back. And he said, oh, no, he likes it. I said, no, he doesn't like it. I can promise you he doesn't like it. A lot of you don't understand that music, like movies, like TV, like poetry, right, influences how you behave. If I show you violent videos all day long on YouTube, what do you think you're going to do when you go out in the street and see a chance to be violent? You're going to be violent. If I show you films about art and beauty and love and compassion, what do you think you're going to want? You're going to want to have those things in your life as well. right? So think about your audience now. We've done the first 4 rules. You should have written those down, but think about now your audience. How are they going to receive your content? And there's a big thought between artists. It used to be someone say, well, I don't create art for the world. I create art for me. And if the world likes it, good. That is the worst artist on the planet, okay? That is the biggest liar on the planet. There's no one who showcases or creates work that doesn't want their work to be loved. But keep in mind your audience, okay? Keep in mind what you're feeding them and what you're giving them, because they are the ones who are going to support you in the future. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Lydia.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mr.
Just
Weston.
call me Del, please. It's just Del.
Okay, thank you. So, Del, you were talking about influence earlier. So I want to know, what are your thoughts on the Joker movie that came out last year?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I'm so absolutely glad, because Batman was created about 40 years before I was born, okay? 30 years before I was born. I'm trying to date myself, about 30 years, okay? And the Batman that came out then completely morphed and changed based on the influences of the world and not vice versa. If you watch the first Batman, which was done by Joel Schumacher, it was a cartoon, starred Val Kilmer and what's his name, the other one, George Clooney in the first ones. They were jokes. But in the short period of time of 20 years between that first film coming out and the new film that was done by Todd, that you guys probably saw, the viciousness in that film, the violence in that film, and the lack of humanity in that film are completely eclipsed by the quality of the production and the writing. That is scary, that someone can show you that much violence and no one walked out of the theater. They cheered and they felt good about the Joker. That is the essence of storytelling, to influence the audience's experience. And in that film, they did that. Now I ask you the question, young lady, what did you think of the Joker?
What I thought about the Joker was, I thought it was so grounded in reality that I guess the people, they felt some sort of connection through what he told. But like at the end, I'm not sure that story that Joker told was real, because he keeps saying, I remember my past one way and some days another. And yeah, like
so
choice.
That's such a brilliant observation on your part, because someone tried to pull the wool over your eyes by using illness and sickness and a skinny body and mental anguish from his mother about who his father was, but they didn't fool you. Yeah. Look how brilliant you are that you saw through that trap, because many people fell for it and they had sympathy for the Joker and they felt bad for the guy who killed all those people and who wanted to rape that woman down the hall, right? Oh, so you never thought about that, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't
That's
know.
right. They want to get you to do and think things you would never think. That is the influence of film. And that is the scariest part of it, okay? So when you think about any movie you watch, anything you watch, remember, it's an influence of you. If you'll go back to the last Avengers film, the big one they did, right? The Civil War film, I guess that's what it was, or the one with Thanos, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you start looking at the themes of that film, what were they trying to influence you into believing? Now, I ask you that. It's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer. But I ask you that because you're the same wizard. You're the same magician, and you'll be doing the same things. So I'll give you an example, because you brought up Joker. There were 3 main lenses used on that camera, a 50, a 105, and of course the 32, right? And each of those focal lengths gives you an emotion and a feeling, right? But no one will tell you that. The lighting became a character. So the more you get into this business, you're going to start developing yourself and learning new things. And wait a minute, are you telling me, Mr. Weston, that if I turn this light, this color down on your camera, you're going to look different if we turn it off? Yeah, turn it off. Let's put it back on. Let's turn it up real bright. And let's see what happens in this room, right? The lighting can deceive you. Softer lighting on beautiful brown skin becomes perfection. It is only white skin that requires the makeup to give it texture and depth and beauty and gloss. And that's not a racist statement, because Max Factor spent billions of dollars developing makeup to make that skin look perfect, right? Because it's shallow. Look at my skin, it's shallow compared to your skin, right?
Thanks.
Well, look at the picture, you can see. And I've got a pretty good camera. I've got lights in my room. I need them because I want to be pretty like most of you. One day, Kenya told me, he said, I thought you were pretty till I met you. I said, sorry to disappoint. He goes, well, you did. So Kenya's right on it. So remember, you're influencing, and the lights can influence, and the sound can influence. If you want to really enjoy a good movie like Joker, turn the sound off. Watch it without the sound. Watch the cuts. Watch you will still feel the same emotion just from the imagery. And that's one more thing for you to do. Think about what you look at every day. Now, for me, I go on Pinterest and Instagram. I probably look at maybe 5,000 images a day. Every day, my wife says, what in the world are you doing? You're not even looking at bikini girls. I go, I know, I'm looking at everything. And here's why. Because what I see, I return to the world. So I discount everything that's bad. I bring in everything that's good, and then I try and use it in my films. It might be I see a picture of a horse, right? Standing in a certain position with the camera at a right angle. Well, I'm going to take that angle later for my work because I love that angle. Now, as soon as you begin taking film apart that way, and I don't want you to go to 50 different classes. I want you to make a movie. I want you to make something. I want you to get your cell phone out today. I bought a whole cell phone setup for this stupid phone, and I shot with it, and it's kind of dumb, but it works. I also have, grade 4 and 6K cameras at my disposal. I can pretty much get whatever I want, and so can you. That's the beauty of where we are right now. That's the beauty of you not marching in the streets, but you documenting what's happening in the streets. Understand?
Yeah.
Good. Let's go on to our next subject, which is film festivals. Once your film is made, how do you get promotion for your film? Well, there's social media, there's YouTube, there's Vimeo, all these different sites. But the beauty of going to a film festival is seeing your work on that big, beautiful screen with an audience of your friends and your supporters. There is nothing like it. Vin Diesel's father, Herman, brought a group of kids from Brooklyn to my show one year, about 20 kids. And they were just amazed at what they learned from everybody who was there, right? So what I'm saying with that is maybe there's a few people in this class together who want to work together on a project. Consider that for just a moment. Is there someone who shares your vision and wants to work with you or like you? Never depend on that person, because people will come and go. But what stays is your persistence and drive, your structure, your idea, right? Your determination. Those things always stay. So even though people come along to help you, don't depend on them, right? But always be dependable. And here's why I tell you that. If you walk into a movie set not knowing anything, if you are dependable, I've had people who've started out as PAs move up to producers on my movies. I did a film in LA recently called Dandelion Season. And they raised a lot of money. They didn't know how to do it. They hired me to come in because I ghost a lot of projects. The beauty of it was I brought a couple of people in, and one was from China. She was exiled from China. She had been kicked out because she did a movie, a short film about the unrest in Hong Kong. So while she was here in LA doing post on the film, the Chinese government knocked on her family's door in China. And they said, took them to lunch and said, if she comes back, we'll put her in jail or kill her. Basically, that's what they told her. When I met her, she was a PA. By the time she was done, she's now one of my producing partners, right? Because she was dedicated and she learned everything. Once you're exposed on a set to things, you're going to start to pick up your own ideas and concepts. And so I suggest very heavily that you find an internship on a film. And how you do that is you volunteer as a PA. But there's something inside you, and I want you to stick to this, okay? Because too many people have sold their souls for a little part in a movie. They think it's something that it's not. You guys are innocent to this point. You are clean at this point. Do not let anyone put you in a position where you do not feel comfortable. That little something in your gut goes off. You got to listen to it. So try and find a film that is real. It's harder now because of COVID. So a lot less films are being made, and because people are not returning to schools in the same way, live productions have been cut probably by 9/10 at this point. Still not a bad thing, because I'll give you some resources like No Film School and others where you can go learn everything you know. The one thing you cannot get by watching a YouTube video, though, is experience. You don't know how to hold the camera, how to adjust the lights, what's the light temperature, what's the ISO, what's the exposure in the camera. All that stuff will come. So I want you just with broad strokes to go out and take your phone if you have it, or a camera if you have it, and I want you to start shooting and seeing what a composition of a shot looks like to you, right? Why is this good? Why is this bad? Why are the lights not working for me? All these questions will be answered through your experience, okay? There is no substitute for experience, and the great experience best you can have is to make a movie or to write a script, because each time you do it, you're training yourself in how to create a world, right? You ever think about that? If you sit in your room one night, you're sitting there and you're saying, well, there's nothing on TV. I've seen all these shows and I don't want to go outside. What if I sat in here and created a world of my own? How many of you like Game of Thrones when it was on the air? A lot of you guys like Game of Thrones? Yeah. You know why you liked it so much? Because they influenced you by showing you a brand new world you didn't know exists. George R.R. Martin sat in his room and wrote something that probably, 3 billion people enjoyed? 3 billion people enjoyed? You have the exact same power. There's no difference between you guys. There's no difference between you and me, except I'm old. I am you and you are me. We're just at different points in time. So if I could make it, remember, I was a garbage man. When I was 35, I lost a job, a very good job, paid about $250,000 a year. It was an easy job. And I got into a fight with my boss. I'd saved no money. I had the job for about 3 years. I was living high. Everything was great. But I lost the job. 6 months later, I was collecting cans on the street of Los Angeles. And no one knew, not my family, not my wife. I didn't tell anybody, but I was collecting cans, beer cans every day. And after about 3 months, I've been looking, I couldn't find a job literally for 2 years. It took me 2 years to find a job. And I am a talented, talented guy. But I was on a journey. And the funny thing that happened, my wife always tells me, how much stuff did you write in that 2 years? I probably wrote 60 scripts in 2 years while I was collecting cans. I would leave the house, wouldn't tell anybody, but I always smelled like beer. And one night my wife said, are you an alcoholic? I said, yeah, whatever you want to think, that's what I am. But what I was doing was putting food on the table and giving myself a chance to write. And I will always remember that time as one of the fondest times of my life. Not that I want you to struggle. There's nothing wrong with struggle. I don't want to see you go through it. So if you use your head and your structure, you're going to have a team around you who can help you go through those tough times. And unfortunately, I was alone. I didn't have a team. And that's something that I have to blame me for. But I will always look at that time and love it, because it gave me a chance to write and hone my craft as a writer. And now I do pretty well as a writer. And I'm very happy with my position. Do you have any questions so far, gang? Anybody with a question? I see 2 screens. Good. Nope. All right, Kenya, I'm going to go into my final wrap up here, then, if that's okay with you.
You go to your final wrap up. Can you tell them the importance of film festivals and markets?
Yes. The way that film festivals work, like I told you a while ago, is people would bring their films to a festival, and then there would be buyers there from all the studios, Miramax, 20th Century Fox, and these studios, Orchard Films, which is owned by Mark Cuban. They would go and they'd say, listen, I like your movie, I'd like to buy it. And people would sell their films outright. Now, there's a guy named Shane Carruth, I believe, Shane Carruth, I think is his name. He made a movie for about $8,000. He shot every frame himself, produced it all himself, took it to a festival, sold it for $2 million. He just did another film after about 6 years, horrible film, sucks horribly, but he sold it, but just wasn't as good as the first one. And the reason it wasn't as good as the first one was, on his first film, he listened to every piece of advice he could get. On the second film, they stopped listening, right? A festival is a place where you learn to listen. because the audience is brutal. Now, if you have an audience full of friends, it's different. But if it's people who are just being real, they might tear your work to pieces. I remember a film I did called Sonny and Ray Ray. It was called Split. That's before Sonny and Ray Ray. That film, I packed the theater with that film. I cried making that film. I cried when it was done. The film goes on, half the audience leaves in the first 15 minutes. And these were my friends. By 30 minutes in, 3/4 of the audience was gone. By the end of the film, I had 20 people sitting there looking at me saying, there's something wrong with this guy. But they didn't leave. So a festival is where you go to create friendships and relationships and to get honest critique of your work. You'll also see where you are in the program with other people. And that's where you get your inspiration, right? Inspiration is so wonderful because it comes from all different sources. And a festival can help with that. Now, be very careful with festivals. A lot of them are scams. I started my festival because I went to a festival called the Northern California Film Festival. It was owned by a guy named John Madden. He is Madden Football. If anybody of you who know that his son started the festival, if you heard of John Madden Football, that's the football guy who owned that festival. And I got up there. I was pretty much the only minority. And I was treated like dirt. I went to the guy who ran it. I said, hey, bro, how you doing? He said, pretty good. I said, tell you what I'm going to do. He said, what? I'm going to put you out of business. I go, I never saw anybody treat people as badly as you do. And it was because of that my festival was born, right? And this is now our 17th year. We've had to postpone for COVID, but it's grown to roughly 17 festivals that happen simultaneously every year. 17 different chances for people to be seen and loved. So when you go to a festival, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, and you're also going to develop a thicker skin, okay? Because when someone says your movie sucks and you suck too, you got to wonder why they didn't separate it. Well, can I still be a nice guy even though you hate my movie? No, you can't. We hate you too, right? And it hurts, but you learn from it. Wow, what a great experience. I had a girl one time tell me, you are sick, you're disgusting, you make me see your films are crap. I said, Mom, listen, that's a little rough. That's a little rough. But I got her critique and it was okay. So festivals can be the best thing for you, but remember, it has changed now. And they're gonna put your work online. Don't let anybody show your work online. Don't let anybody tell you this is the better way to go. No, you build your own channel on YouTube, it's free. You build your own channel on Vimeo, it's free. And you begin showing people your stuff, sending it out, contacting people like me and say, Mr. Weston or Dell, or whatever you want to call me, how do I get this film to the next level? What do I do and what do I need to do to make it better? And we're going to help. Okay. I'm not the biggest film. It's kind of funny because I own a festival, but I'm not the biggest film festival guy because I've been to quite a few shows around the world. And I got to tell you, Kenya was right. We try and do it better and different than anyone else because we put all our money back into the filmmakers and writers. We don't live off the money from this show. I spend almost $300,000 a year just producing that show. That's my own money. That's not government money or grant money or charity money. That's dollars out of my children's mouth. And my kids are younger than most of you. They're only 12 and 13. They began making movies when they were 4 and 5. And now, of course, I had cameras and stuff all over the house. It was easy for them to do it. But they wanted to, and they made their last film, I think it was 4 or 5 months ago. So that's been over 6 years of still doing it. All right, so I'm going to wrap up now and give you guys the greatest points of this talk so far. You hold in your hands the future of this country and of the world with regards to storytelling. You, nobody else. Because if you let somebody else tell that story, they're not going to tell the story that's about you. They're going to tell someone else's story, and you will be left in the dust one more time, right? Many of you have parents or grandparents who loved you to death, and their story should be told, or an aunt, or a friend, or someone who did something heroic or brave or strong. Something that affected you. That's the story you've got to tell, okay? That's the only thing that you're responsible for as a storyteller, is the authenticity and the truth in that story as you see it. Don't let anyone take your concepts and ideas away from you. The thought of technically being challenged from making a film is a lie, because all the tools are in your hands. Now, no, you're not going to make a $50 million movie your first time out, nor should you. I had a TV show on Spike. It was my first $1 million paycheck. It was called Reality Racing, the Rookie Challenge. I'd made a friend at Paramount Pictures by a guy named Alan Bailey. He was the longest running executive in Hollywood. He was a comptroller for Paramount. He controlled all the money. And I met him as a favor to someone else. Before I knew it, we were friends. Within, I don't know, a year, I was at Paramount once a week having meetings, and he was setting them up for me to get jobs. And the second thing I went to was $1 million job. Now, I was scared out of my wits. It was 32 cameras, a crew of 65 people. I mean, and I was in charge of all of it, right? The biggest thing I'd done to that point was a film for about $9,000. So you can imagine, someone hands you $3 million and says, get to work. And when I say $1 million, it was the first $1 million job, my first check was $1 million. That's what I'm telling you how good this show was. It came from sitting in my room, just like you're doing right now, wanting something, right? Wanting something. And then I wanted to work with the biggest celebrities in the world. And that just started happening without me even having to think about it. It just started going on. And I've done that through the festivals, people I've met, because those people at those festivals, they want to work just as much as you want to put them to work. Never be afraid of asking a celebrity to work for you. Never. And never, you go to the biggest one you got and you say, hey, I need your help. Will you be in my movie? But do not waste their time, right? I guess what I'm saying in general is that all of you have power, whether you think you do or not. And that power is your voice. And how do you use your voice? You make something that other people can be influenced by or entertained by or thrilled by or frightened by if you like to do horror movies. I'm not a big fan of horror movies. That's just me personally. They scare me too much. I'm scared of everything. Oh, what's that? Sorry, that was my shadow. It scared me. So I want you guys just to take those few notes from me. And if you all have pencils, write this down, please. This is the most important thing you're going to do today. actiononfilmfest.com. actiononfilmfest.com. That show, that site will take you to about 16, 17 festivals. And I think that, how many people in this room right now, Kenya? Total, 27. I'm going to send you 27 waivers, one for each person in this room. If you'd like, it is, Tisa, what's my email? Del Weston at Action on Film?
To send the request?
No, Del at Action on Film. actiononfilmfest.com. Del. So my email address is del@actiononfilmfest.com. Del, D-E-L, at actiononfilmfest.com. Any one of you who needs help that I can structure and help you, I will do so. That's a gift for Kenya, who's giving you a gift. Okay? If you want to see any of my films, you can just look me up. I've got probably 700 episodes of my talk show, 20 films, I don't know, 30 episodic shows. And it's been a very long career, and I'm just beginning to scratch the surface. In the next 2 years, I'm launching a distribution studio. And it's funny, people will find you out. There's an old black star named Sammy Davis Jr., who some of you may know the name, many of you don't. One of the most talented men who ever lived, right? But he came around the 60s. He had to go, he would perform on the stages in Las Vegas, but he had to walk through the back door. So a great producer named Dick Enright produced all these big shows and movies and TV shows. He did a series of shows with Sammy Davis Jr., and no one ever saw them. Guess what I signed the rights to 2 weeks ago? Every one of those shows, and there are hundreds of them.
Wow, wow.
Everyone in this process will be made rich by shows that we found sitting in a garage for the last 35 years.
Wow.
But because I had the knowledge of how to ingest the films, re-edit the film, output the film with a higher resolution, it came to me. So just by being in the business and knowing a little bit of something, someone came to me and said, can you handle this? And I said, absolutely, I can. And we're launching the whole thing in about 6 months. So you're going to find things that will allow you to grow outside of this, but always maintain your voice, okay? And now finally, the big gift. Drum roll, please. Look at, when you go to that website, you'll see a magazine on the front cover. I don't make this promise very often, but I'm going to make it today. Out of these 20, you have a 1 in 26, not 1 in 25 chance, because there's 27 people with Kenya and I.
Yes, yes.
One of you is going to win a full cover story in that magazine. So look at the magazine on the front page of the website. Okay. Kenya's going to pick the winner, not me.
Wow.
Whoever he picks, you're going to get a full-on 12 to 20-page profile on you and your future. And when you do that, I'm going to ask every AOF filmmaker that I know, which is probably around, I don't know, 50, 75,000 people. I'm going to ask them to help you in some way when you reach out. Okay. So I don't want to just come and talk to you. I want to come in here and help you change your futures for the better. And you'll find that we are in earnest and completely open to helping you in any way that we can. I will not give you money. Money will not solve your problem. Your problem is not money yet. Your problem is concept, idea, story, and follow through. That's your issue right now. I can help you get, last year, Boris Effects called and said, hey, we want to help some of the kids you work with. And we were able to give out $400,000 in software last year. Free. Take it. Here you go. Have a nice day. All right? If Kenya had a company he wanted to approach and say, I have a class of 25 kids and we'd like to get this software, that, we would help them do it through my charity, right? That's the structure I told you about. Structure makes everything easy. Huh?
Wow.
And now you got two great resources. It's 8:58. I've been talking for about 45 minutes. Any questions before I go?
Okay.
Good. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Del.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you also use the iPhone camera to make films?
Yes, and here's why I do it. Because I'm old, right? And my hands are giant. I've got hands the size of bear. I mean, to hold, this is a giant phone. I can barely press the button. That's how big my hands are. But the thing is, it's a new tool. And if you don't put tools in your chest, it's hard digging with just your hands, right? When the ground is cold and hard, you can't dig much with your hand. But you get a shovel and a pick, man, it makes fast work. This phone is fast work. I use it to capture everything when I'm outside. Anything that's going on around me, any special occasion. And then, you know, I do little special things as well for me, because I create a lot of stuff. When you look at my website, you'll start to understand. The film has taken over my existence on this planet. There's nothing more, besides God, there's nothing more important to me than story. You know, of course, my family's up there. And one of my kids, maybe. Okay.
Wow.
Any other questions before we go?
Del,
thank you all for your time. It's been a blessing. Thank you all. God bless you all.
Del, I want to tell you, this has been a wonderful experience. Young people, you don't know what you just got in your hands. Now, I'm telling you, right, remember this filmmaker, this old guy said, you don't know what you got in your hands right now. This industry is an industry that is so tough. To get to someone like him, you got his email address. You can even write Del just to ask him a question about what he thinks about your idea.
Absolutely, whatever you need.
Or just write him, tell him hello. Because in this industry, you're going to need contacts. And now, not only do you have contacts, you have a way into a festival without paying, one of the best festivals in the world. And you have a connection now to, let me tell you something. Del knows everybody in the industry. He knows everybody. You have a connection to everyone in the industry. And that is, I didn't know Del was going to do these things. I really appreciate. I was sitting here almost ready to cry. See, I'm a sensitive guy.
Do you know why? Do you know why I did it? Because no one ever did it for me.
Wow.
That's why I did it. And do you understand that if I had someone like Kenya in my life when I was your age, where I would be today? You have no clue. Your possibilities are endless, but you have to have some sort of structure and people to guide you by. That's it. I'm sorry to interrupt, Kenya. I apologize.
Oh no, I'm just excited. Listen, guys. We went through interviewing this morning, and I'm not going to let Del go until we get 3 questions from our interviewers. So,
well, I see a question here. The first question is, do you believe video games make kids act violent?
Okay.
I believe that any young mind that is inundated with any type of forced sound, visual and emotion combined, it can destroy anything. So I'll give you an example. There's something that people use in PSYOPs, which is psychological operations, which is they will put something in front of your eyes and they will put something in your ears, and they can literally change how you think. Okay. So if I take a video game and I force you in front of a video game for 6, 8, 10 hours, sometimes many of you do that already. When you dream, you'll see the colors of the video games and you hear the noise in your dreams. Any of you ever do that now? When you play video games to a point where you see them even after you stop watching them? Wow. That is known as an after effect. The after effect stays with you. So it causes you to do things that you're not sure of because your mind is not clear and focused on what you're doing, because that second mind is running and all that violence and things that you had and heard and seen. And I think anything that is not tuned to create a positive connection in your brain, for instance, the kid I told you about with the rap music, okay? That poor kid is a mess. He lives in the worst part of LA. He's now 11 years old and he's a mess. Now, by comparison, from the time my wife found out she was pregnant until my children were about 5, we played nothing but classical music. Well, why is that? It is proven that classical music is based on mathematics. And so by listening to classical music, you are literally allowing the brain to form more quickly, and the connections called synapses in between the neurons and the cells to create bigger and stronger connections for a stronger mind. It is easy for me to tell you this because both of my children have been homeschooled for the last 8 years, and they are in the top 2% nationally of all academic. Okay? That didn't happen just because we taught them. That was those connections, right? So I hope that answers that question.
Fantastic. Anybody else have a question? We had some, like I said, we had some great interviews this morning, Dale. And I'm going to call one or say 2 or 3 people and let them interview you for 2 or 3 questions. Because, because they've gotten it, they mastered, they understand it. We're going to start with...
let me tell them, wait, we have interviewers, is that what you said? Okay, yeah. For all of you in this room right now, tonight I want you to watch ABC News, okay? Right? ABC. And on Channel 7 News, ABC, you're going to see a young black girl. Her name is Rachel Scott. She was just named a correspondent to the White House to follow the president, okay? You know where Rachel Scott got her start? Her friend called and said, Mr. Weston, she wants to meet you and come hang out. We gave her her first job at AOF. She did interviews for a full season, over 350 interviews. Guess what she does for a living now at ABC? She's an interviewer.
Wow.
But she got all of her on-camera training. She started out just like you guys did. Look her up, Rachel Scott.
Great. So I'm going to call Shanasia. I just saw you, Shanasia. Are you still here? Oh, there you are. Excellent. Shanasia did a great interview this morning. I interviewed her, and then she got to interview someone. Shanasia,
I love the hat.
Yeah. Come off mute.
I love the hat.
Thank you. I want to ask, why film? Did you have any other things that you found interesting? And
yes, I'm a frustrated artist, and so I owned an art gallery for a while. But I also write books. I also do poetry. I also do limited music and lyrics, and I make myself happy with my creations. I really do, and I don't think that I'm limited in any way. And that only comes when you understand that a lot of you have constraints on you. You think you have constraints. Well, I don't have this, or I don't have that, or dad's mad, or someone. All that stuff just leads you into your mind. And in your mind, you have complete and total freedom. You begin to develop yourself in ways that you, so yes, I did more than just film. Film's just one of the things that I do.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That was a great question. Destiny. Destiny, are you still here?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Destiny.
Right. Can you come on camera? And I'd like for you to give Dell a question.
Oh my fucking God.
Okay.
He's only asking you to ask to help develop you, but don't ask a question if you don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't even want you to ask a question if you don't feel comfortable doing it, sweetheart.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I need, yeah.
Right. You don't have to if you.
No.
So you rather for us to pass on your Destiny? So.
Yes.
Okay. So, Linnea, let me tell you, Linnea, you have a career ahead of you, because we see the light in your eyes and the excitement. So please go ahead and ask another question, young lady.
Thank you. It's just I'm so curious about like this industry. What I want to know is how long does it take to make a film? Like it could go from weeks or like years or
My
how
average
long?
time, my average time is 3 years. Once I start the process, it takes me about 36 months. And I have a new film coming out called Trick. Not for you guys. It's a tough film, but that took me 3 years and 2 months. And it wasn't because of me. It's because of the downstream people who get involved, the editors, the sound, the music, and the color correction. And each one of those jobs is separate. Now you can I could have turned the movie in 6 months after I made it. Just wouldn't have been very good. But remember, when you make a film, you're making something that will last forever. And also, what was the young girl's name who didn't want to ask the question? What was her name?
Destiny.
Hey, Destiny, just so you know, when I was just a little bit older than you, a guy approached me and said, hey, I saw some of your work on this thing, and I'd like to, if you want to intern with me, you can. And I said, sure. I was so scared when I went to lock in for the internship. I'm standing in front of the door that plays 10 minutes early, but I was so scared I couldn't ring the bell. So finally, like a minute after the time is, I ring the bell and he goes, you're late. Get away from my door and don't come back. You're not serious. I was just scared. I was just, that cost me. But I realized then, you know, I want to be very careful with everybody. So Linnea, yeah, it takes a little time, but again, you can, depending on the budget, like with my TV show, on some of the shows I've had, like I had a show on NBC, I had a show on Spike, I had a show on ESPN. Those shows were produced the week that the shows aired. So on a TV show, we produced the show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We cut it on Thursday, Friday, and we would air it on Saturday. So there's a big difference between TV and film.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people get sick on that show. You see a lot of ulcers. Whenever you see a lot of money, look for people to be sick, okay? Because the stress is overwhelming. I had a guy I brought along with me. He went from making $600 a week. I think I was paying him $27.50 a week, every single week, right? This guy had a breakdown at one point. He was in charge. He didn't even have to do the work. He was just in charge of the other editors. This guy had basically a nervous breakdown. His name is Josh Neufeld. You can find him on Facebook. You know, he broke down.
Whoa.
But that's why movies take 3 years. You can get it done because you'll lose your mind, you know, if you're working on a project where there's any real money involved.
Oh, yeah. Jacob.
Wow.
Thank you, Linnea. Jacob?
Yeah.
Would you like to ask Del one question?
Well, how do you feel about like other mediums besides like movies or like books or something to like tell stories?
You have I want to express to you how important that question is. The very first movies that anyone ever saw, the very first ones were cave drawings in France, okay? And these cavemen would go in and draw pictures of the great hunt, and they'd use old charcoal from a fire, and they'd draw on the cave walls, they use pigment and things like that. Those were the first movies. The very first story ever written or told in the history of man is called Gilgamesh, okay? Gilgamesh, right? That story survived for centuries and eons, right? So movies is just one way to tell a story. There's so much more. There's collage, there's paintings, there's drawing, there's animation, right? All these things, poetry, music. Every song you hear that you like, that's good, is a story. It's a story of that performer's life, or his or her troubles, or his or her love, or his or her excitement, or his or her touring the world. It's all a story. Rap is successful because it tells stories. Rap is not successful because of the beat. Rap is successful because it tells the story of a history of a people that began with the acknowledgement of hip hop. Okay? Now, the story was told before that. It used to be called The Dozens. And many of you know Nick Cannon's show Wild and Out. That stuff was being done in slave days, whereas black slaves, in order to deal with their turmoil and trouble, they would make fun of each other and they would do what was called The Dozens. And that became Nick Cannon's show. That's a story too. It's not a movie, but it's a story, Jacob. So any medium you can choose that you can get your teeth into where you feel excited about it, that's your place, man. What's your focus, Jacob? What are you thinking of?
Well, because I'm more interested in like stories I make that aren't based on reality. So
what do you think?
I'm not sure.
What would the medium be for that type of a story?
I think it'd be like probably something like writing in the book or like maybe making something.
Wow.
I don't know.
Now look at you. Now look at you. You know who some of the richest people in the world are? Period. Authors. Authors. Oh yeah. Think about that, man. See, it's a funny thing. When you decide to work hard, there's something called remuneration at the end of it. The way you know your work has quality is someone's willing to pay for it. Always remember that. I've been selling artwork, horrible artwork that I produced for years. If you look behind me, I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a print, there's a John Lennon print behind me over my shoulder. Can you guys see that? Right up here at the top of my shoulder. Can you see it over my right shoulder? There's a print of artwork. That's called John Lennon #9. I saw that paint. There were 9 3-foot paintings this artist had done. And I said, hey, can I see those? He said, sure. So I took a picture of each one. I made that print behind me. And then I told the story of that print by selling out 10,000 posters and lithographs. That was my story. Wow. I made a story. I took those pictures, put them together as a lithograph, put a peace sign under it, and took it to the Beatle Fest that used to travel from New York to Chicago to LA. Wow. I never said it was easy. I never said it was easy. I said it was fulfilling, and it's wonderful. People gave me, for each one of those prints, $250, right? And then for the posters, they gave me another $25. Then I created all these T-shirts and stuff. I was always creating, right? And so you can do the same thing. Don't limit yourself to just one thing. Jacob, if you write a book, you might find that you want to write the screenplay and maybe someone else directs it or produces it, but it's yours, like George R.R. Martin in Game of Thrones, right? He didn't produce anything, he just wrote it, but he wrote it beautifully, huh? And his imagination gave so many other people pleasure, to the point where people were violent about the seasons of Game of Thrones. Was it a good season? Was it a bad season? They were vicious because they were so vested in it. And they paid so much for that cable to get it, to be able to see that movie on that show. 30, 40, $50 million spent an episode? What the heck? Someone liked it. I hope that answers your question, young man.
Yeah, that did. Thank you.
And I see Frida just came on, and that would be the last question of the day will be from Frida.
Hi, Frida.
Hi. I actually had a question about the poetry, right? Because I also write poetry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a film production major at Brooklyn College.
Nice.
So I'm currently working on my thesis, but I'm also like writing poetry on the side.
You go, girl.
What kind of poetry did you write?
I have a new book coming out. It's called Love and Other Subjects of Great Importance. If you guys wait a second, I will put a link up so you can see it, the cover of the book. And I tend to write poetry about love and pain. If you look like me, if you look like me and you're 10 years old, no girl will speak to you. And that hurts. Ooh, that hurts. A lot of you know what rejection's about, whether you're a girl or a boy. You know what it's like. You felt that pain of rejection. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to embrace that feeling like there's no tomorrow. That's the best thing that ever could have happened to you. The guy or girl you liked is a scumbag. They were not right for you. It's moment, but that pain you will always have, and that pain you can always depend on to help you tell your stories and to be real with it, huh? That's the key, to actually be real and to feel it. So in this book, Love and Other Subjects of Great Importance, I used a program called iBook Author. It's free from Apple. iBook Author. Now, the beauty of this thing is, as soon as you publish your book from your computer, it goes into all the stores on Apple. So I've got 3 books up there: the top 100 indie filmmakers in the world, the top 50 independent writers in the world. Those are the books that I've already produced. You can find those on Amazon. I mean, on Apple. But this program allows you to put video inside the book. And so what I did was I took pictures of all these beautiful models that I loved, all these friends of mine, gorgeous, gorgeous people. And then I took my poetry and matched the poetry to the picture. And then one thing that helped me, Jacob, you'd be interested in this. I recorded the poem with my own voice, and then I recorded the poem with music under me. And as you read the book, you can press a button and the poem will be read to you, right? So we've used technology, we've used art, we've used beauty, we've used pain, we've used love, all those things. Purple, blue, red, yellow, green, flashing across the sky, leaving trails of mist and gold for the lucky to follow you by, right? That's the beginning of one of my poems, right? If there's a choice, I know there is, by your side I will be seen, flashing across the sky, God, purple, blue, red, yellow, green. Okay. That was my poem to God. You know, he likes poetry too.
Wow.
And he's always listening to you. And if you listen back, he'll help you. Right? That's no joke.
Beautiful. That was beautiful. That was really, really beautiful. All right, so guys.
Also, when I began writing poetry, girls started liking me more. I don't know.
That's great. No, sorry, that's called iBook Apple.
Yes, as Apple, it's called iBook Author, and it's free. You got to look it up, guys. It's easy to use. I trained myself. Every program I learned, everything from Premiere to photo, I trained myself at every. I went to college for art, but I studied painting and drawing and graphic design without computers. It was just done by hand. But this program, I mean, this can change your life. I mean, if you want to come out, this is such a great way. Jacob, if you want to write a book, you could write your book and publish it in 3 or 4 days and have the world look at it. I mean, what a move, so fast to be able to do that instantly. It's just amazing.
That is great.
I hope you get a chance to see it.
That is great. Listen, guys, I know we're on mute, but let's give Dell a round of applause for everything.
Back at you.
You know, wow.
You guys.
And Dell, I'm sincerely from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for coming. You know, I love you.
Anytime. Anytime.
I love what you're about to do for these young men and the women here. I'm
absolutely.
I'm overwhelmed. Listen, so guys, we're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We're going to come back at 12:30 so you can stretch, get some water, whatever you need to do. In 10 minutes, we're going to come back. Then we're going to go and we're going to do the last hour. We're going to talk about flexibility changes. Dale mentioned how the industry is changing. Well, today we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to start us out. We're going to look at a video, and we're going to look at it, and we're going to talk about it. It's called Humans Need Not Apply. It is about the changing world. All right. But right now, go enjoy your 10-minute break. It's going to be great, and we're going to come back, and we're going to get this thing up, running, and on the road. Del, thank you so much, young man.
Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon. Thank you all. It's a pleasure to meet you. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
Great, fantastic, fantastic. It's 12:31, so we're gonna get started. Whoa, that was a lot of good information. A lot of good stuff to wrap our heads around. I know everyone here is not thinking about a career in filmmaking. Some of you may be here just because, it's something to do. But what you just got, I just want you to sort of know where you're sitting. This industry is all about contacts. It's all about being able to meet people. And once you meet them, being able to get them to verify who you are or what it is you're about. One of the reasons I was able to make a living in the film industry and do all the films that I've done and, continue to get good things happen and all that is because when I was your age, I actually met a director who's my godfather, right? But my godfather is a director of some of the biggest motion pictures in the industry. And he never gave me anything, but he taught me everything, right? You want to be like this. You don't want anyone to give you anything. No one have to give you money, but you want them to open the door for you and give you the opportunity to prove yourself to be who you are, right? You want to be able to prove yourself. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen to you over and over and over again, no matter who you're connected to or who gets you in the door. It's going to be your own enthusiasm, your own thinking, your own work that's going to take you to the next level. Dell talked about $1 million check. Is there anybody here who has received $1 million check before? And is there anybody here who wants to receive $1 million check, right? Right? The only way you're gonna do it is if you get the information from people who's already done it, who you associate with in this business, who you associate with in any business or in life is gonna determine where you're gonna go. If you ever look at a corner and you see 4 drug addicts and there's a 5th person hanging with them, there's going to be a 5th drug addict. If you look at 4 businessmen and 4 successful businessmen and there's a 5th guy hanging with them, there's going to be another great businessman. And I'm not telling you who to choose your friends, right? Or who you choose as your business partners, but who you are around, what you soak in is going to help to determine who you're going to be. Remember, I told you in the beginning that in order to be a filmmaker, there's a mindset. There's a mindset. You guys are going to be independent filmmakers. You have to think like an entrepreneur. You have to think like an entrepreneur. I want you ready at every turn. Be prepared. In the Boy Scouts, they used to say, be prepared. And they used to say that, but what it means is that whatever you're choosing as your career or what it is you want to do, or even if it's your hobby, you got to be prepared because you don't know, excuse me, you don't know when opportunity is going to knock at your door. We're going to talk a little more about festivals. So festivals is where you go to meet people, where you go to get awards, have your film compete to see if your film have any value, right? That's what happens at festivals, most festivals. At the Action on Film Festival and some of those festivals that he told you that are connected to them, distributors come there. Because once you get your film made, you want your film picked up. And you get your film picked up by getting distribution or distributors for your film. Now, distributors is what everyone talk about, But what they mean is acquisition executives. That's the person in the studios, in the big studios, the people that buy film and dole out money are called acquisition executives. Those are the people you want to be connected with also. Now, we just found something else out. I didn't know this until today. Dell is starting a distribution channel, a distribution chain. I didn't know that, but it makes sense because he's been in the industry. He's already successful. He got a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? So it just makes sense. And guess what? Because of where you are and where you're sitting today, you could be some of the first people he get to distribute your project or your projects. Your project can be the first because you now have a door into Hollywood. You have a door. And you don't, and this is the other thing, this is really great. You don't have to go through me. Or you don't have to go through Miss Adler. All you gotta do is write down and tell them, hey, look, I was in your class. I was with Kenya. And guess what? You said such and such, such and such. So I have a question for you. You're gonna get free waivers to the Action on Film International Film Festival. Use those waivers. There's 17 other festivals that happen at the same time with the Action on Film International Film Festival. I know there's some of you wanted, I think it's Marcus, is interested in doing action films. No, I think it's Mario who want to do action films. This is your way in. Every action star in the world goes to that festival or have been to that festival at different points. So just so you know, you're in. You're in. I mean, someone said they want to do games. You are in. You're in the industry because you now have that number and that contact. What you have to do is grow, develop, be prepared, and be ready. Because the time we call you may not be the time you're ready, or the time they call you may not be the time you're ready, right? But once you get all the basics and you got all your stuff going, you're gonna always be ready. So festivals is for that, it's to increase the value. Now, films are sold at markets. And this is something a lot of filmmakers who've been doing film for years, they don't know the difference between a festival and a market. A festival is for the awards, the competition, to increase the value. The markets is where the distribution takes place. That's where the business happens. That's where you're gonna look eye to eye, one-on-one with people with money, and you're gonna sell your product. You're gonna tell them why they need it. You're gonna go and you're gonna get the deals. You're gonna sign the deals. You're gonna sign them because you're gonna do one-on-one. You know, I have 2 $1 million deals out on some films that I've done. They're on Amazon Prime right now, right? $1 million deals. That's because I went to the festivals and you gotta be around the people who you wanna be like. You wanna be like somebody, you gotta be around them. If you're a hunter and you're hunting for rabbits, you have to go where the rabbits are. If you're hunting for moose, you gotta go where the moose are. And then you have to know something about the rabbits and something about the moose, all right? Flexibility, entrepreneurship, don't be afraid, make mistakes. And this is the other thing, your movies don't have to be perfect. None of my movies are perfect, not one. I have not one perfect film. But my films are out there and they're bringing in an income and they're in the independent world, right? You don't have to be perfect, you just gotta do it. So today, if you get anything from what is going on today, you just honed your interview skills, you know all that about that, you know how to write now, you know what to do. Even Dell went over the script writing, right? You know all these things now. The biggest thing now is to do it and not to wait. Do it, make mistakes, and it doesn't have to be perfect. really quick story, then we're gonna go into the video. I graduated from New York Film Academy in the year 2000. Some of you were just, were just born around that time, or wasn't even born yet. I graduated from New York Film Academy around that time. There was a young woman who was in class with me, and she's a dynamite filmmaker. When I say she's dynamite, every project she ever submitted was perfect. Perfect coloring, perfect sound, perfect lights, and we were doing it in film at that time too. And she had the money, it was beautiful. Her stuff was beautiful. We got out, I created my company in 2004. And when I created my company, we started doing movies and showing them all around the world and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't hear from her in a long time. When I finally met her, when I finally seen her again in 2006, I'm like, hey, Daphne, what you been doing? You been doing any movies? She said, no, Kenny, I'm not doing movies. I'm not doing it. I just gotta make sure I got this right, that right, the other thing. And that went on for several years. To this day, she has not completed a movie because she wants her movies to be perfect. She wants the coloring right. She wants the sound right. You don't have to have it perfect. The sound don't have to be right. The coloring don't have to be there. When Dell mentioned some of the critique you get, I would get criticized all the time about not having lights on my film. I didn't have money for lights, so I shot them anyway. And I made money anyway, right? There's a lot of ways to make money. We're gonna go over, on the next time we get together, we're gonna go over distribution, the ways of making money in film, how to make money in film. We're gonna go over independent ways to make money as entrepreneurs, what you can do to make money. And not just that, how do you make money consistently so that if you choose, you don't have to do anything else except make movies. And it won't make you famous or anything like that, but you will be known in the industry where it counts, and you'll be able to eat and you'll be able to have money. Sounds good? Now, what we're going to do, flexibility, I tell you, is very important thing. And we're going to look at a 15-minute film, and I got to get it, called Humans Need Not Apply. Then after we see that film, we're going to discuss it. Okay, so just give me a moment. Okay, I have to call it up again. So I don't know what I did with it. Humans need not apply. Okay, I found it. I just gotta get the screen up. There's a commercial on it right now. I'm gonna get past the trailer. There you go, we're gonna skip the ad. You know, it's funny, most of my friends are filmmakers and stuff, and we still have problems working YouTube and all that kind of stuff. But I got it right. There you go. Like I said, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be. All right. So we're gonna look at this film, and after we see this film, we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna discuss what's going on.
to make our work easier, from sticks to plows to tractors. Every human used to have to hunt or gather to survive, but humans are smartly lazy, so we made tools to make our work easier. From sticks to plows to tractors, we've gone from everyone needing to make food to modern agriculture with almost no one needing to make food. And yet, we still have abundance. Of course, it's not just farming, it's everything. We've spent the last several thousand years building tools to reduce physical labor of all kinds. These are mechanical muscles, stronger, more reliable, and more tireless than human muscles ever could be. And that's a good thing. Replacing human labor with mechanical muscles frees people to specialize, and that leaves everyone better off, even those still doing physical labor. This is how economies grow and standards of living rise. Some people have specialized to be programmers and engineers whose job is to build mechanical minds. Just as mechanical muscles made human labor less in demand, so are mechanical minds making human brain labor less in demand. This is an economic revolution. You may think we've been here before, but we haven't. This time is different. When you think of automation, you probably think of this: giant, custom-built, expensive, efficient, but really dumb robots blind to the world and their own work. They were a scary kind of automation, but they haven't taken over the world because they're only cost-effective in narrow situations. But they're the old kind of automation. This is the new kind. Meet Baxter. Unlike these things, which require skilled operators and technicians and millions of dollars, Baxter has vision and can learn what you want him to do by watching you do it, and he costs less than the average annual salary of a human worker. Unlike his older brothers, he isn't pre-programmed for one specific job. He can do whatever work is within the reach of his arms. Baxter is what might be thought of as a general-purpose robot, and general purpose is a big deal. Think computers. They too started out as highly custom and highly expensive, but when cheap-ish general-purpose computers appeared, they quickly became vital to everything. A general-purpose computer can just as easily calculate change, or assign seats on an airplane, or play a game, or do anything just by swapping its software. And this huge demand for computers of all kinds is what makes them both more powerful and cheaper every year. Baxter today is the computer of the 1980s. He's not the apex, but the beginning. Even if Baxter is slow, his hourly cost is pennies worth of electricity, while his meat-based competition costs minimum wage. A tenth the speed is still cost-effective when it's 100th the price. And while Baxter isn't as smart as some of the other things we will talk about, he's smart enough to take over many low-skilled jobs. And we've already seen how dumber robots than Baxter can replace jobs. In new supermarkets, what used to be 30 humans is now 1 human overseeing 30 cashier robots. Or take the hundreds of thousands of baristas employed worldwide. There's a barista robot coming for them. Sure, maybe your guy makes the double mocha whatever just perfect and you'd never trust anyone else, but millions of people don't care and just want a decent cup of coffee. Oh, and by the way, this robot is actually a giant network of robots that remembers who you are and how you like your coffee no matter where you are. Pretty convenient. We think of technological change as the fancy new expensive stuff, but the real change comes from last decade's stuff getting cheaper and faster. That's what's happening to robots now. And because their mechanical minds are capable of decision-making, they are out-competing humans for jobs in a way no pure mechanical muscle ever could. Imagine a pair of horses in the early 1900s talking about technology. One worries all these new mechanical muscles will make horses unnecessary. The other reminds him that everything so far has made their lives easier. Remember all that farm work? Remember running from coast to coast delivering mail? Remember riding into battle? All terrible. These new city jobs are pretty cushy, and with so many humans in the cities, there will be more jobs for horses than ever. Even if this car thingy takes off, he might say, there will be new jobs for horses we can't imagine. But you, dear viewer, from beyond 2000, know what happened. There are still working horses, but nothing like before. The horse population peaked in 1915. From that point on, it was nothing but down. There isn't a rule of economics that says better technology makes more better jobs for horses. It sounds shockingly dumb to even say that out loud, but swap horses for humans and suddenly people think it sounds about right. As mechanical muscles pushed horses out of the economy, mechanical minds will do the same to humans. Not immediately, not everywhere, but in large enough numbers and soon enough that it's going to be a huge problem if we're not prepared, and we're not prepared. You, like the second horse, may look at the state of technology now and think it can't possibly replace your job, but technology gets better, cheaper, and faster at a rate biology can't match. Just as the car was the beginning of the end for the horse, so now does the car show us the shape of things to come. Self-driving cars aren't the future. They're here and they work. Self-driving cars have traveled hundreds of thousands of miles up and down the California coast and through cities, all without human intervention. The question is not if they'll replace cars, but how quickly. They don't need to be perfect, they just need to be better than us. Human drivers, by the way, kill 40,000 people a year with cars just in the United States. Given that self-driving cars don't blink, don't text while driving, don't get sleepy or stupid, it's easy to see them being better than humans because they already are. Now, to describe self-driving cars as cars at all is like calling the first cars mechanical horses. Cars in all their forms are so much more than horses that using the name limits your thinking about what they can even do. Let's call self-driving cars what they really are. Autos, the solution to the transport objects from point A to point B problem. Traditional cars happen to be human-sized to transport humans, but tiny autos can work in warehouses and gigantic autos can work in pit mines. Moving stuff around is who knows how many jobs, but the transportation industry in the United States employs about 3 million people. Extrapolating worldwide, that's something like 70 million jobs at a minimum. These jobs are over. The usual argument is that the unions will prevent it, but history is filled with workers who fought technology that would replace them, and the workers always lose. Economics always wins, and there are huge incentives across wildly diverse industries to adopt autos. For many transportation companies, humans are about a third their total costs. That's just the straight salaries. Humans sleeping in their long-haul trucks cost time and money, accidents cost money, carelessness costs money. If you think insurance companies will be against it, guess what? Their perfect driver is one who pays their small premiums and never gets into an accident. The autos are coming, and they're the first place where most people will really see the robots changing society. But there are many other places in the economy where the same thing is happening, just less visibly. So it goes with autos, so it goes for everything. It's easy to look at autos and Baxters and think technology has always gotten rid of low-skilled jobs we don't want people doing anyway. They'll get more skilled and do better educated jobs like they've always done. Even ignoring the problem of pushing 100 million additional people through higher education, white-collar work is no safe haven either. If your job is sitting in front of a screen and typing and clicking, like maybe you're supposed to be doing right now, the bots are coming for you too, buddy. Software bots are both intangible and way faster and cheaper than physical robots. Given that white-collar workers are, from a company's perspective, both more expensive and more numerous, the incentive to automate their work is greater than low-skilled work. And that's just what automation engineers are for. These are skilled programmers whose entire job is to replace your job with a software bot. You may think even the world's smartest automation engineer could never make a bot to do your job, and you may be right, but the cutting edge of programming isn't super smart programmers writing bots, it's super smart programmers writing bots that teach themselves how to do things the programmer could never teach them to do. How that works is well beyond the scope of this video, but the bottom line is there are limited ways to show a bot a bunch of stuff to do, show the bot a bunch of correctly done stuff, and it can figure out how to do the job to be done. Even with just a goal and no knowledge of how to do it, the bots can still learn. Take the stock market, which in many ways is no longer a human endeavor. It's mostly bots that taught themselves to trade stocks, trading stocks with other bots that taught themselves. As a result, the floor of the New York Stock Exchange isn't filled with traders doing their day jobs anymore. It's largely a TV set. So bots have learned the market and bots have learned to write. If you've picked up a newspaper lately, you've probably already read a story written by a bot. There are companies that teach bots to write anything, sports stories, TPS reports, even say those quarterly reports that you write at work. Paperwork, decision-making, writing, a lot of human work falls into that category, and the demand for human mental labor in these areas is on the way down. But surely the professions are still safe from bots, yes? When you think lawyer, it's easy to think of trials, but the bulk of lawyering is actually drafting legal documents, predicting the likely outcome and impact of lawsuits, and something called discovery, which is where boxes of paperwork gets dumped on the lawyers and they need to find the pattern or the one out-of-place transaction among it all. This can be bot work. Discovery in particular is already not a human job in many law firms. Not because there isn't paperwork to go through, there's more of it than ever, but because clever research bots shift through millions of emails and memos and accounts in hours, not weeks, crushing human researchers in terms of not just cost and time, but most importantly, accuracy. Bots don't get sleepy reading through a million emails. But that's the simple stuff. IBM has a bot named Watson. You may have seen him on TV destroy humans at Jeopardy, but that was just a fun side project for him. Watson's day job is to be the best doctor in the world, to understand what people say in their own words and give back accurate diagnoses. He's already doing that at Sloan Kettering, giving guidance on lung cancer treatments. Just as autos don't need to be perfect, they just need to make fewer mistakes than humans, the same goes for doctor bots. Human doctors are by no means perfect. The frequency and severity of misdiagnoses are terrifying, and human doctors are severely limited in dealing with a human's complicated medical history. Understanding every drug and every drug's interaction with every other drug is beyond the scope of human knowability, especially when there are research robots whose whole job it is to test thousands of new drugs at a time. And human doctors can only improve through their own experiences. Doctor bots can learn from the experience of every doctor bot, can read the latest in medical research and keep track of everything that happens to all their patients worldwide and make correlations that would be impossible to find otherwise. Not all doctors will go away, but when the doctor bots are comparable to humans and they're only as far away as your phone, the need for general doctors will be less. So professionals, white-collar workers, and low-skill workers all have things to worry about from automation. But perhaps you are unfazed because you're a special creative snowflake. Well, guess what? You're not that special. Creativity may feel like magic, but it isn't. The brain is a complicated machine, perhaps the most complicated machine in the whole universe, but that hasn't stopped us from trying to simulate it. There is this notion that just as mechanical muscles allowed us to move into thinking jobs, that mechanical minds will allow us to move into creative work. But even if we assume the human mind is magically creative, it's not, but just for the sake of argument, artistic creativity isn't what the majority of jobs depend on. The number of writers and poets and directors and actors and artists who actually make a living doing their work is a tiny, tiny portion of the labor force. And given that these are professions dependent on popularity, they'll always be a very small portion of the population. There can't be such a thing as a poem and painting-based economy. Oh, by the way, this music in the background that you're listening to, it was written by a bot. Her name is Emily Howell, and she can write an infinite amount of new music all day for free. And people can't tell the difference between her and human composers when put to a blind test. Talking about artificial creativity gets weird fast. What does that even mean? But nonetheless, it's a developing field. People used to think that playing chess was a uniquely creative human skill that machines could never do, right up until the point they beat the best of us. And so it will go for all human talents. Right. This may have been a lot to take in, and you might want to reject it. It's easy to be cynical of the endless and idiotic predictions of futures that never are. So that's why it's important to emphasize again that this stuff isn't science fiction. The robots are here right now. There is a terrifying amount of working automation in labs and warehouses around the world. We have been through economic revolutions before, but the robot revolution is different. Horses aren't unemployed now because they got lazy as a species. They're unemployable. There's little work that a horse can do to pay for its housing and hay. And many bright, perfectly capable humans will find themselves the new horse, unemployable through no fault of their own. But if you still think new jobs will save us, here is one final point to consider. The US Census in 1776 tracked only a few kinds of jobs. Now, there are hundreds of kinds of jobs, but the new ones are not a significant part of the labor force. Here's the list of jobs ranked by the number of people who perform them. It's a sobering list with the transportation industry at the top. Continuing downward, all of this work existed in some form 100 years ago, and almost all of them are easy targets for automation. Only when we get to number 33 on the list is there finally something new. Don't think that every barista or white-collar worker need lose their job before things are a problem. The unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25%. The list above is 45% of the workforce. Just what we've talked about today, the stuff that already works, can push us over that number pretty soon. And given that even in our modern technological wonderland, new kinds of work aren't a significant portion of the economy, this is a big problem. This video isn't about how automation is bad, rather that automation is inevitable. It's a tool to produce abundance for little effort. We need to start thinking now about what to do when large sections of the population are unemployable through no fault of their own. What to do in a future where, for most jobs, humans need not apply.
Wow. Wow. Mm. Okay. Okay. Humans need not apply. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it relates to the film industry. Humans need not apply. Who would like to comment on what we just saw? Okay, Lanaya.
What we just saw, it was just basically like how advanced the human race is getting and the technology that we're creating, and it could be good and bad because it's taking jobs, but yet it's making the work field like much safer, like because there are some jobs that are dangerous that machines are taking over.
Yes, yes, yes. Mario.
I would like to add on by saying that while these jobs are becoming automated, they're dangerous jobs, it's also creating a surplus of people who cannot find employment under no fault of their own. And eventually we're going to just have this mass of people who have studied for certain positions and gone to trade schools and done these things, get a job that they once had that now is done by a machine, and now they really don't have many options when finding a new job or something else for them to do.
Okay, thank you. Jacqueline. You're on mute, Jacqueline. Okay.
Hello?
Yes, hi.
Okay.
Yes.
I was saying that the interesting part about the video in regards to the film industry is that it could really go either way because as technology advances, you have better cameras, better equipment for the directors and things, but it's also making it so that directors and producers aren't really necessary. You could really have these robots film a whole movie and the only people that would be necessary are the actors.
This is true. How does that make you feel, Gavin? How does that make you feel?
Well, like, I guess it kind of shows like how the technology over time is evolving now. I guess so. Like, I guess it's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. So it really does depend.
Right, right. Jocelyn, what do you think the answer may be?
I'm confused. The answer to what exactly?
To what we're now presented with the fact that you have so many bots coming and taking over our jobs and stuff.
Truthfully, I agree with everyone else that it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I see it as like it will start to become a competition for jobs, where people that didn't choose to be like actors and stuff, they'll see, like for example, what Jacqueline said, like the actors will try to go for their dreams, but then other people will be like, well, I need a job, so I'm gonna go for the acting field as well, which would make it like a lot harder for people to get jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Latrell. Latrell, your thoughts? You're muted, Latrell. Okay, we'll come back to you. Frida, what's going on? What did you see? What did you see in this video we just saw? Frida? Okay, Frida is, okay. Then we're gonna bring it over to Itzel.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi. Hi. Hello.
How are you today? What do you think of what we just saw?
I thought that it was actually the most realistic thing I've ever seen, because it's all true. I'm so sorry, but anyway, the video that really stood out to me because it's true. Like, as we evolve and all that stuff, technology is gonna evolve as well, and I feel like how it connects to the film industry is like how I forgot who said it, but they were saying how directors are probably not going to be needed anymore because the robots are going to be the ones filming everything, and then the only thing that they're going to need is the actors, like the script writers probably, but it's all going to be programmed into the robot. So it's like, as time goes by, it's going to all change, and that's crazy.
Right, and we have to stay abreast of the changes, whether we like them or not. Right, a whole lot of things, like we said about being flexible. A whole lot of things is happening, but as long as we're aware, we'll know how to defend ourselves. And we're going to try and talk about what the answer is in a few moments. Garlene, how are you?
I'm good.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about what you saw.
Well, it's basically just showing how like the world is passing so it's like working so fast, and like it's progressing so much to the point where like almost like humans are not even needed anymore. It kind of makes us feel like worthless, like we don't like thoughts are doing our work. So it's like, what are we gonna do in the future? But yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, what do you think?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I think it was just crazy how technology really impacts like the filming industry. In a way, I think it does like impact it in a positive way, as it makes filming a lot easier. But at the same time, it also like most of those film directors are not needed anymore, and it's all controlled by robots, which is kind of like, I don't know, like it can be positive, like it can be a positive impact or negative, depending on the way you think of it.
Yes. That's good. That's good thought. Destiny, what do you think about the film you just saw?
I think that about the film that it gave like it gave I would say like a positive impact.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Rahimi, same question.
I think it was a bit scary to think about, but at the same time, I think that there are some jobs that, machines and robots can't replace from like an artistic point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there are some things that humans can still do that will make us feel something because it's done by humans, emotions that we can relate to. I don't think that robots can mimic that, so to speak.
Okay.
But like labor jobs, like practical jobs, they can be replaced, yeah.
Fantastic. Mario.
Yes.
What do you think is the answer to technology coming like it's coming, taking over our jobs?
I think that it's something that we're going to have to start trying to prepare for, whether that is learning other skills on the side or trying to build your network and meet new people so you can have a better chance of finding a job in the future. Or I think a good solution is that we should start training people now to work with these machines and to repair them, and not just rely on people who are learning how to fix other things and assume that they can learn to fix these new machines because they're already fixing something similar.
Yeah. Kasim.
Well, I just thought it was kind of disheartening because, like, I always assumed that like robots can't replace the creative jobs in a sense, but the video was just like, oh, the robots can make music and paint. So it's just like, I always assumed like that's like the one thing humans could have, but in reality, that's not the case. That's really not the case.
Right. Yeah. And you know, and it's real interesting. I show you guys that because as filmmakers and as entrepreneurs, we want to be ready for what the future is going to hold for us. We want to be aware of what the future is going to be like. You guys are you're the new breed. You guys are going to determine what it is audience like and what it is they will not like. One of the things about robots, as someone said, is they can't capture the human emotion. They can't capture the human feel and spirit. For us as new filmmakers, what we have to do, not just to make sure that we're not put out of the loop when all these things happen, what we have to do to make sure we survive as filmmakers is we have to hustle. We should not, as independent filmmakers, guerrilla filmmakers, as entrepreneurs, we should not put ourselves in a position where we have to have other people feed us or other people support us, because what we want to do is be able to find creative ways to make money, to make whatever it is we need for ourselves, right? The problem becomes when we become dependent on things. When we become dependent, that's when we have a problem. If you have somebody who's giving you, say, $500 a week and you become dependent on that, then if they want to take it away, you're going to have problems. But if you're making your own $500 a week, then you're not gonna worry about it. If they say, hey, look, I'm not giving it to you, like, I don't care, right? That's how you have to be in this industry. Like we said, there's a lot of rejection in this industry. You don't want to have the rug pulled from under you because some producer's mad at you, or they don't like you, or they don't like your idea, or something like that. You create your own idea, you become an entrepreneur, you find the best way for you to make money in your idea, and then you keep doing it. Our fight against the bots and all that kind of stuff, the robots and this, that, and the other thing, is because when we find ourselves on our backs, it's because we allowed someone else to take control of what it is we do. Right now, in today's society, the way things are today, there's nothing you have to worry about, or you have to get, or you have to rely upon that's going to come from other people. Right? Sure, you're going to make your own teams. You're going to make your own mastermind teams. We're going to talk about mastermind groups. But that's the group that Dell was talking about. Well, Dell said that he's around people that look up to him, that respect him, that he respects. That's the kind of team you're going to build for yourself. And those will become your friends and your real family, because your family you never chose. You just woke up one day and said, that's your brother, that's your sister, right? But you'll start choosing who you're going to be around on not just your path to filmmaking, but on your path to life. This business is a tough business. They don't care about anybody. They don't love you. They don't like you, nothing. Only thing you can do is continue to develop your talent, create good projects, and at the same time, make sure you find a way to get an income coming in. And we're going to talk more about that way. We're going to talk more about the way to do this. We're going to talk more about that on Thursday. Now, don't forget tomorrow, you guys, for tonight. Well, tonight by 6 o'clock, you want to get to Miss Adler. You want to get all those questions in and answered. When we begin again on Thursday, we're gonna begin where we left off. I'm gonna find out whatever her lessons are for tomorrow. We'll go over that a little bit on Thursday, and then we're gonna talk about distribution, getting the deal, making the sale, how the sales are made, putting money in your pockets. And we're gonna have another special guest on Thursday. Listen, guys, it's been really good. You know, we end at 1:30. So for the next 10 minutes, what I'd like for you to do, okay, for the next 10 minutes, what I'd like for you to do, I'm here, I'll answer some questions for you. Someone just wrote me some questions. Let's see.
I would like to.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so a question I have for you is, can you give an example for what we should be doing tomorrow, like the work? Like you said, like, do we have to write a script?
Okay, right, she's not asking you to write a script. She's asking you to answer 5 basic questions, which is really the beginning of getting your script and idea. Okay, the first question is, what topic? You're gonna answer 5, but there's 9 questions here. First one is, what topics do you want to discuss? Then it goes to main messages. If your audience was seeing this in a theater, what is the main thought you would want to be in their heads when they walk out the door? Story reference. What other films, photos, projects, articles already exist on this topic? How is your film going to be different? What are you adding to the conversation? Goals. Is it simply a creative expression for your own enjoyment of the process, or do you want this to have a specific impact? If your project is focusing on social issues, if there's a specific social impact you would like to have, such as building support for a specific organization, help change policy, core audience to specific action, etc. Story possibilities. What are some ways you can tell this story? Think about the example you watched. Then she wants the summary, the log lines. We went over log lines on the first day too. We went over log lines, and then there's the video elements. What are all of the things you need to capture or collect to create this project? And then it's the equipment. What will you need in order to capture or collect all of this? What do you have already, and what do you need to find? Right, okay, you know, and then I looked at, there's like 4 more questions. So you have, out of 13 questions, you have 5 that you can choose and get answers from.
So I appreciate it. So you said at 6, we'll be contacting who again?
Okay, 6, it's gonna be Miss Adler, the other film instructor.
Okay.
All right, you guys have Miss Adler's email address? Yeah,
I don't think I have hers.
Okay. Great, thank you, Gavin. Gavin sent out. Okay, now, so when you go to chat, Gavin sent everybody the proposal and pitch prep worksheet. That's what you need to answer it. Let me see if I can get her. Does anyone have her email address where I don't have to go into the, okay, I'm gonna try and get her email address for you. Okay. In fact, okay, there you go. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mario.
Thank you.
Great. So everyone.
Thank you, Mario.
Everybody that needs the email address, please take it from
No
Mary.
problem.
Yes, I appreciate you guys. Any other questions before we close out? Listen, I had a great time. You guys are great, great, great young people. I'm truly, truly impressed. And I look forward to us meeting again on Thursday. I may stop by tomorrow if I get a chance just to hang in with you a few minutes while Miss Adler do her thing. She's a great teacher. And I hope at the end of this program that it changed your life, that your life will be changed by what it is you're learning from this program. Anybody else, any last questions? Because that's it. I got
One quick question.
Yeah.
Do we have to email her our responses, correct? We don't have to, like, there's no Zoom call we have to join or anything.
Right. No, that's just, you just email her your responses. It's not a Zoom call. Not a Zoom call. Anybody else? Listen, enjoy your day. I hope you got a lot out of it. We're going to do a review on Thursday too. It's really, really exciting. I'm going to see you guys. I always say I have my own saying. I say I'm going to see you at the top. I'm going to see you at the top. And some of you guys, like I said, I'm just so excited for you. You're in the industry. You got it in the industry. You're going to get waivers for the Action on Film International Film Festival. So if you want your film in next year or the year after, you just continue to contact me or contact Dale. In fact, let me put my email out here. All right. That's kenyakego@aol.com. That's kenyakego@aol.com. If you need to contact me, just go ahead and email me. I'll be happy to get back to you. And we're going to get this done. So everyone, you are now wrapped for the day. Have a great day. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You guys are the best. Yes. Mm-hmm. Latrell, are you there? Latrell.